In my previous life, my girlfriend and my sworn brother stomped my limbs until they broke and fed me to the zombies. In this life, I have terminal cancer and only 1 month left to live. Before the apocalypse arrives, I jump straight into a sinkhole abyss and gamble my life on an awakening. In the end, I didn't die, and I even got bound to a fertility system. The system said, the cancer cells in your body have mutated, and your power is a little off. When I opened my eyes, I was pressing down on a nurse. A second ago, the zombie king had torn through my anus, and I was being devoured by a horde of zombies. The next second, I opened my eyes and found myself on top of a young nurse. I had been reborn. Dolly, wake up. You're crushing me. It hurts so much. I rolled over to the side and sat on the floor, my whole body feeling like it was about to explode. The woman in the nurse's uniform before me was Feng Linwan. But wasn't she dead? Feng Linwan blushed as she straightened her clothes. Dolly, is your brain broken too? This is Lua Hospital. We were just chatting when you suddenly fainted. This is already the second time today. If you were going to faint, then faint, but you just had to land right on top of me. My mind went blank with a buzz. Hospital? Cancer? That was all before the apocalypse. Had I really been reborn? Shawan, what's today's date? May 19th. We agreed you'd come for a follow-up today. Did you forget? May 19th. I really had returned to before the apocalypse. In my previous life, I was betrayed by that cheating pair, Tang Bingbing and Chen Xiqing. Chen Xiqing stepped on my face and laughed wildly. Calling for help? They're all my people now. Those trusted subordinates of yours? I had them killed too. Tang Bingbing swayed her hips and said, want to know why? In your next life. Then my limbs were broken underfoot, and I was thrown into a horde of zombies, my anus ripped out by the zombie king as I was eaten alive. Heaven gave me another chance. Those people, I will make sure they suffer every torment before they die. Just as I was thinking that, my phone vibrated. I pulled it out and saw Tang Bingbing calling. Rage instantly exploded in my head. It was her. On this day in my previous life, she called and said the treadmill was squeaking, but in fact she was fooling around with Chen Xiqing. After the apocalypse, I rushed to the hotel to save her at the first opportunity, believed her nonsense about working a part-time job, took them with me to survive, helped them awaken, and built a base. In the end, she got together with Chen Xiqing behind my back, got my trusted aides killed, stole the supplies, and finally threw me into the zombie horde. I took a deep breath and suppressed my killing intent. Feng Linwan was still beside me trying to persuade me. Dolly, your girlfriend doesn't have a good reputation. You've come to the hospital so many times. When has she ever accompanied you? I held her hand. Linwan, listen to me. After you get off work tomorrow, go buy more food and water from the supermarket. Lock your doors and windows when you get home, and no matter what, don't go out. Even if someone knocks, don't open the door. Wait for me to come find you. Her face reddened all the way to her ears. Dolly, why are you acting so strange today? Don't tell me the cancer cells have really spread to your brain? I knew she died because of me in my previous life, and this time I had to save her. I didn't explain and turned to leave the hospital. Standing by the roadside, looking at the busy traffic, I took a deep breath of exhaust fumes and nearly coughed up a lung. This damn body is still in the terminal stage of cancer. I won't live more than a month. At 12 o'clock tomorrow night, a dense fog will cover the entire globe. Most people will turn into zombies, while a few will awaken. And before the dense fog descends, sinkhole abysses have already appeared in various places, and the dense fog is inside them. I have to go down into a sinkhole abyss ahead of time and become an awakened one. Enduring the pain, I went to a nearby supermarket and bought several coils of rope, a flashlight, and a few bottles of water, then took a taxi straight to Baiwan Mountain in western Beijing. The car passed through street after street, and the bustling scene outside the window felt like another lifetime. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. When I opened my eyes again, we were already in the mountains. I got out of the car and entered the village, found that mountainside house from my previous life, and behind it was a narrow footpath. I climbed up along the path, stopping and starting, and finally made it to the top of the slope. The mountain wind was cold. A dozen meters below the slope, on an open patch of ground, was a huge sinkhole. Beside it stood a tall, dark-skinned farmer uncle, the very survivor who had told me about the tinking in my previous life. When he saw me, he froze for a moment. Young man, how did you get here? Only the path from my backyard leads up here. Panting, I said, I'm a hiker. I saw the sinkhole on the mountain and came over. The uncle handed me a bottle of water and gave me a thumbs up. You young people really are brave. But this sinkhole appeared suddenly, and it's full of fog below. I think you'd better not go down. I didn't listen. I tied the rope to a huge rock by the edge of the pit and threw the other end into the tanking. Uncle, I have a reason I absolutely must go down. With that, I grabbed the rope and climbed down, stepping on the rocks along the pit wall. Behind me, the uncle marveled. What are young people these days raised on? How are they this brave? I climbed down 3 meters, and when my feet touched the fog, a burst of intense pain spread through my whole body. This was a sign that my body was evolving. I gritted my teeth and kept going down. The fog particles were like tens of thousands of poisonous insects burrowing into my body. The concentration was too high, and the pain made my consciousness blur. My hand slipped, and I fell straight down. Drip, drip. Water drops fell on the corner of my mouth, cool and sweet. I snapped my eyes open, and all around me was dense fog. I didn't die from the fall. I clenched my fists. My once weak body was now filled with strength, and I felt full of energy. It felt like there was a black hole inside my body, capable of devouring everything and turning it to my own use. This was exactly the superpower I had awakened in my previous life, devour. But it seemed even stronger than before, able to devour more things. Could it be because I came into direct contact with the dense fog? I turned on my phone. Only half an hour had passed since I went down into the tanking. The flashlight illuminated only half a meter around me, and I discovered that I hadn't fallen to the bottom of the pit, but had been caught by a web woven from plant roots and stems. The mutated plant had saved my life. I climbed along the roots to the pit wall, and when I shone the flashlight on it, the wall was densely embedded with crystals reflecting the light. Energy crystal cores. These crystal cores could awaken people. Without hesitation, I pried off a beginner-grade crystal core and activated Devour with my mind. The crystal core turned into energy and flowed into my body. My spirits lifted, and my body grew noticeably stronger. Haha, I'm rich. I pried off several more and continued devouring them. Ding, detected. Devour. No. Stop. Wait, that's not right. What was that voice? Stupid human. Devour. Wait a second. Human. Meeting me is your good fortune. Devour. Can you fucking let me finish? Devour. Big brother. Master. Wait. I give up. Stop first. I can't take it anymore. Only then did I stop. What are you? Why are you in my head? Big brother, don't you read web novels? Cut the crap. I'll devour you. Big brother. I'm a system. When you fell into the tanking, I entered your body, waiting to bind with you once you became a beginner-grade awakened. You just absorbed the crystal core and broke through. I was just about to bind with you, and I almost got dissolved by the power inside your body. A system? What kind of system? What does it do? I am the many sons, many blessings system. As long as you complete acts of racial reproduction, you can obtain rewards. I am the best partner for helping you reach the pinnacle in the apocalypse. I nearly lost it. Many sons, many blessings? In the apocalypse, you're giving me this? How could there be such a good deal? And if you're so amazing, why are you afraid of my newly awakened devourability? I think I'd better devour you instead. Maybe that'll bring some real benefit. Big brother, no. There really is more to it. I provide assistance, and you give me a portion of the evolution energy you absorb to help me grow. Although the energy you need for future evolution will double, it will absolutely be worth it. As for why I'm afraid of your ability, I scanned your body. You have many special cells inside you. At that density, a normal person would have died long ago, yet you're still alive. When these cells awakened, they changed, making your ability different. I was shocked. Special cells? Could they be the cancer cells that had spread through my body? There's a theory online that cancer cells actually want to transform the human body, but the body just can't withstand it. The system then said, Big bro, your devour ability has unlimited potential. Please let me follow you. Tell me where you came from. Are there other systems in this world? I'm not too sure. Devour. Big bro, I really don't know much. When I woke up, I was already in this sinkhole with no memories of my origin. But I know there are other systems. Fusing with them would make me more complete, and I should be able to remember some things. I weighed the pros and cons, and keeping this system around didn't seem to have any downside. It appeared in the sinkhole, so there must be some connection. Follow me from now on. Don't try anything, or I won't mind devouring you. Big bro, there's no need to bind. You devoured part of my data, so we're already inseparable. Besides mission rewards, you can also inspect the database information of anything. And I can also serve as portable storage, with 10 cubic meters available for access at any time. Oh, check my information. Data immediately appeared in my mind. Name, Ding Dolly Awakened 1 Strength, 48 Speed, 48 Stamina, 48 Spirit, 50 Ability. Devour, I asked. How is this data different from that of an ordinary person? It's very different. For ordinary people, the highest any attribute can reach is at most 5. Some exceptionally gifted people might have one attribute exceed 5. If all stats exceed 10, then they're an awakened 1. If all stats exceed 50, then they're a beginner awakened 1. So Earthlings really are all useless weaklings in combat. Wait, that's not right. The beginner crystal core I just absorbed was more than enough to advance me to a beginner awakened 1. You siphoned off the energy, didn't you? Hehe. Big bro, I need energy to grow too. So, Ding Dolly didn't mind. He took more beginner crystal cores from the sinkhole wall and absorbed them until he felt the energy in his body was saturated, then stopped. Ding Dolly was all too familiar with this feeling. At this moment, he only needed to circulate the energy within his body throughout his entire body to break through. After a wave of intense pain all over his body, he advanced to a beginner awakened 1. He looked at his attribute data again. Name: Ding Dolly Human Beginner Awakened 1 Strength, 55 Speed, 55 Stamina, 55 Spirit, 60 Ability. Devour. Although the data had changed by only a few points, his body had undergone a change that crossed a whole tier. His strength was also on a completely different level from before the advancement. The apocalypse hasn't even begun yet, and he's already a beginner awakened 1. It's time to go out and get revenge. He continued taking chunks of energy crystal cores from the surrounding sinkhole wall, then controlled them with his mind. Sure enough, the energy crystal cores went straight into a void space, and with another thought, a crystal core appeared in his hand again. Not bad. This storage space of yours is pretty handy. Of course, as long as Big Bro likes it. Once I level up, this space will get even bigger. Ding Dolly ignored the system and sped up what he was doing, storing away all the crystal cores he could touch nearby. Visibility inside the sinkhole was limited, and the other crystal cores were all beneath a web woven from plant roots and stems. Below that was even more bottomless. Having only just awakened, he didn't dare stay any longer. He would collect these first and come back to thoroughly investigate the depths when he had the chance. He climbed upward along the protrusions on the sinkhole wall, and after climbing several meters, he saw the rope from earlier hanging down. Without another word, Ding Dolly grabbed the rope and climbed up, and with his current stamina, he climbed out of the sinkhole with ease. Hey, young man, you finally made it up. I was worried something might have happened to you. Ding Dolly was slightly taken aback, only then realizing it was that uncle speaking. Uncle, why haven't you left yet? How could I dare leave? You young fellow wouldn't listen to advice. How could you just go down there like that? I was afraid something would happen to you. I'd be implicated too. So I've been guarding this place the whole time. The uncle's words warmed Ding Dolly's heart, and after thinking it over, he still decided to speak up with a warning. Uncle, whether you believe it or not, prepare plenty of supplies at home tomorrow, and don't go outside after night falls. Oh, and my name is Ding Dolly. I hope we'll have a chance to meet again in the future. After saying that, Ding Dolly turned and headed down the mountain. The uncle stared blankly at the young man's departing figure, not understanding what he meant. But an inexplicable sense of crisis rose in his heart. He frowned slightly and looked with confusion at the figure going farther away down the mountain. After Ding Dolly came down the mountain and arrived at the village, he took out his phone and called a Didi to go back. It's great being in a big city like Kyoto. No matter where you go, you can always get a ride. The car had only gone about halfway when the phone rang, and Ding Dolly looked at the name on the caller ID. A fierce glint appeared in his eyes, but he still answered in a deliberately gentle tone. What do you want with me? What do I want with you? Ding Dolly, are you fucking messing with me? I came to your rental place, and there's nobody here at all. I've been trying to call you and couldn't get through. I'm telling you, you'd better not lie to me, or I won't let you off. Oh, Bing Bing, don't be mad. I came out to take care of something. My phone had no signal just now, and I'm on my way back now. You're a patient. Why are you wandering around? I'll wait for you at the rental place. You'd better not lie to me. With that, she hung up. Chapter 4. Brutally killing Tang Bing Bing as he listened to the busy tone on the phone. A smile curled at the corner of Ding Dolly's mouth, and the veins on his forehead twitched slightly. Since you're in such a hurry to die, I definitely won't disappoint you, Tang Bing Bing. The car traveled from west to east, passing through the bustling city. Everyone outside the car window had their heads lowered, rushing about for the sake of making a living. They didn't know that right now they were only rushing about for life. And in another day, not only would fewer than 1 in 10 of these people survive, but even those who did would live every day in misery and fear. Before, it was for making a living. Later, it was for staying alive. Ding Dolly had already grown used to the days of living in fear during the apocalypse, so this peaceful and tranquil world instead felt a little unfamiliar to him. He simply closed his eyes and silently absorbed the energy crystal cores stored in the system space. In his previous life, absorbing one energy crystal core increased his strength, but now it took two, because the system would take a share of the energy. But fortunately, at the beginning of this life, he wasn't lacking in energy crystal cores. In his mind, the data for the energy crystal cores in the system space appeared digitized. Beginner energy crystal cores, 250 first-level energy crystal cores, 35 in his previous life. He had to count and absorb energy crystal cores one by one. In this life, he started out with an ample supply of crystal cores. It's just that one person absorbing them is enough for two people's use. And it also seemed that his body had undergone some changes in this life. So the base amount needed to absorb crystal cores had increased a lot. Theoretically speaking, the more crystal cores needed for each level up, the greater the potential. It seemed that I myself also needed far more crystal cores to level up than in my previous life. Thinking this while absorbing crystal cores, the car soon arrived. At this point, he looked at his body attributes again. Name: Ding Dali Human First Stage Awakened Strength, 70 Speed, 70 Stamina, 70 Spirit, 75 Ability. Devour looks like reaching a first stage awakened before the apocalypse arrives won't be a problem. Ding Dali was in an excellent mood and strode straight into the residential complex. This complex was an old one, with all the buildings being low 6-story blocks, and the environment was poor. And most of the residents were no pushovers either. Some were elderly people relocated back here, and most of the rest were tenants. There had been reasons for renting here back then. First, it was close to Tang Bingbing's school. Second, the rent was relatively cheap. Third, there was a farmer's market nearby, so buying groceries and cooking usually saved some expenses. The place Ding Dali rented was on the first floor. As soon as he opened the building entrance door, he saw a pretty-faced woman in light-colored casual clothes standing at his door. It was Tang Bingbing. It was precisely this pure and innocent outfit that had once made Ding Dali completely infatuated. Hearing someone come in, Tang Bingbing, who had been playing on her phone, gently raised her head. After seeing who it was, her brows furrowed slightly, an impatient look on her face. Ding Dali, you're getting bolder and bolder now. You dare make me wait here for so long. Looking at that irritated face, if this had been the old Ding Dali, he would definitely have thought even the way she got angry was beautiful. But the current Ding Dali only felt disgust. Ding, boss, detected a member of the opposite sex with a rating over 80. Engaging in species reproduction will grant corresponding rewards. Oh, check her attributes. Name: Tang Bingbing, 82 points human female strength, 3 speed, 2 stamina, 5 mentality, 5 ability. Yet to awaken. Can ordinary people awaken? Can it also be seen? Ha ha ha. Since that's the case, I have an idea. Tang Bingbing was about to explode as she looked at Ding Dali, who was standing there motionless, lost in a daze. But then she suddenly realized that Ding Dali today seemed a little different. Wasn't he said to be dying from illness? Though he was still very thin, why did he look so full of energy? And didn't he have this much muscle before? Did he seem a bit taller too? Thinking this, she still said irritably, "Hurry up and open the door for me. Bingbing, don't you have a key to the house?" That. I lost the key. Why are you asking so much? Open the door already. I still have things to do after I get my stuff. Tang Bingbing urged anxiously. Ding Dali opened the door, and Tang Bingbing pushed him aside and muttered as she went in. I hate coming to your lousy rental place the most. This lousy neighborhood is old and run down, and the environment is terrible. It's no place for people to live. I must have been cursed for 8 lifetimes. How did I end up living with you in this lousy place for so long? Ding Dali paid no attention to her complaints and casually locked the door behind him. In the past, no matter how much Tang Bingbing complained or threw a tantrum, Ding Dali would always hurry over to coax her. Used to seeing him tiptoeing around her, today he was acting completely out of character. Ding Dali was unusually silent, which made an inexplicable anger flare up in Tang Bingbing's heart, and her voice grew several notches louder. Ding Dali, what kind of attitude is that? If you hadn't begged me to come get the bag, I wouldn't have come. Where's the bag you bought? Hurry up and give it to me. If I'm not satisfied, I won't let you off. I begged you. Satisfied? Don't worry. You'll be satisfied for sure. As soon as he finished speaking, Ding Dali instantly reached out and grabbed Tang Bingbing by the throat, lifting her up with one hand, suddenly having her throat seized. Tang Bingbing flailed her arms and legs non-stop, her voice sounding like a chicken with its neck strangled. Ugh, you're fucking crazy. You damn idiot. Let go of me. Ugh. Ding Dali tightened his grip, and Tang Bingbing's face instantly flushed red from being deprived of air. Her eyes bulged, and her mouth opened and closed as if she were still cursing something. She just couldn't make a sound, only an noise. There isn't any bag, but I do have another gift for you. With that, Ding Dolly took a junior energy crystal core from his spatial storage and stuffed it into her mouth. The crystal core melted on contact, instantly turning into energy and entering Tang Bingbing's body. Then Ding Dolly casually tossed her to the ground like garbage. You filthy loser. Are you fucking trying to die? What the hell did you feed me? I fucking After hitting the ground with a muffled groan, Tang Bingbing got up and started cursing, but after only 2 lines, the crystal core's energy began to take effect, altering her body and causing intense pain. When everyone first awakens, the duration of the pain varies. People with slightly better constitutions may only suffer for a few minutes, while those with poor constitutions may need several dozen minutes. But it won't exceed 1 hour. If it lasts over an hour, the awakening will fail and they will turn into zombies. Oh, Tang Bingbing cried out while rolling back and forth on the ground. It took about 40 minutes before it finally stopped. Scan her data. Name: Tang Bingbing, 82 points human, awakened female, strength 10, speed 10, endurance 12, mental 12, ability. Space. Tang Bingbing, just recovered, seemed not to realize the changes in her body and grabbed the wooden chair beside her to smash it at Ding Dolly. Ding Dolly, I'll beat you to death, you piece of trash. The wooden chair smashed into Ding Dolly and instantly shattered into pieces, but it did not cause him any real harm. Only then did Tang Bingbing realize that her strength seemed to have increased a lot. However, Ding Dolly did not give her a chance to adapt and kicked one of her legs broken. Tang Bingbing staggered and fell to the ground again. Damn you, Ding Dolly. As a lab rat, you have to have the awareness of a lab rat. Stop making noise and shouting. After saying that, he stepped on and broke her other leg. Tang Bingbing curled up in pain, her whole body soaked in sweat. Her originally beautiful face turned completely pale, and even her lips were trembling slightly. Yet she still stubbornly kept cursing. Ding Dolly, you useless thing. Broke loser. Serves you right for getting cancer. Before she could finish cursing, Ding Dolly struck again. Tang Bingbing, with all 4 limbs broken, lay on the ground, gasping for breath, her face covered in snot and tears. Only then did she realize that the once meek Ding Dolly wanted her dead today. Dolly, don't kill me. I won't break up anymore. I'll agree to anything. I can satisfy you with anything. Don't kill me. Not breaking up? Ha ha ha. If you're not breaking up, how are you going to seeching? Hearing this, Tang Bingbing's eyes were full of shock as she said in disbelief. You? How do you know? Bingbing, be good, don't be afraid. Dolly, I was wrong. I'll be good and stay with you from now on. Ding Dolly gently stroked her face and leaned close to her ear to whisper softly. Bingbing, you don't have a chance anymore. It's already an accident that I let you live past chapter 3. But don't worry, you'll meet Seeching very soon. After saying that, he twisted hard with both hands. Tang Bingbing was still thinking about what he meant, still wearing an astonished expression on her face, when she was already dead. Ha! I told you you wouldn't survive, so why are you acting pure with me? You should be grateful to be my lab rat. I'm going to do it while it's hot. After saying that, Ding Dolly placed his hand on the back of Tang Bingbing's head and carefully felt with his mind. Devour. As an awakened, the crystal core in Tang Bingbing's brain was being gradually absorbed, while a trace of understanding seemed to appear in Ding Dolly's mind. It really works. Ding. Congratulations, big brother, on devouring the new ability space, which can be fused with the system space and upgraded to 100 cubic meters after fusion. Fuse. Ding Dolly was extremely excited and gave the order without hesitation. What a joke. In his previous life, his devour ability could only absorb crystal cores and flesh and blood from various beings including humans, awakened, zombies, and mutated beasts to continuously strengthen his body. In this life, the devour ability has changed. Even something as illusory as the system can be devoured. Ding Dolly vaguely felt that it could also devour other abilities, which is why he decided to use Tang Bingbing for an experiment. Anyway, she's a dumbass ex-girlfriend, so why not use her? As expected, he was right. Other abilities really can be devoured. Haha, doesn't that mean I can have multiple abilities? In this life, it'll be hard not to take off. Ding. Detected a skill drop from the killed target. Big brother, would you like to learn it? Ding Dolly, still immersed in the joy of discovering a new use for his ability, was suddenly interrupted by the system. Slightly stunned, he then saw 2 balls of light emerge from Tang Bingbing's corpse. System, What do you mean by dropped skills? What skills were dropped? Boss, your devour ability is too heaven-defying. In order to help you better, besides getting rewards for completing the racial reproduction mission, the system has tailor-made a new reward for you to go with the devour ability, which is that after killing a target, the target can drop skills they were familiar with while alive. Hee hee boss. Am I useful or what? Not bad, not bad. You're somewhat useful after all. But what if the target was completely useless and had no skills while alive? Don't worry, boss. Even if there are no skills, they'll still drop supplies and the like. That's not bad. How do I learn dropped skills? Touch the light ball. No need to trouble yourself, boss. With just a thought from you, I can automatically pick them up, and as long as you agree, you can learn them automatically. Hearing this, there was no way Ding Dolly could be unhappy. This undoubtedly gave him one more method than other people. Pick up. Chapter 5. Good neighbor. Looking at the two utterly speechless skills, Ding Dolly's face darkened. He seriously suspected this system was useless. Suppressing the urge to devour it, he said irritably, destroy these two things for me. Do I even need to learn this crap? Ding. Skills destroyed. Boss. Friendly reminder. Next time you encounter a suitable target, complete the reproduction mission before killing them. Considering this is the first feasible target you've encountered, rewards can still be issued while the iron is hot. Shut up. Okay, actually, using the devour ability can absorb the energy in a corpse, and Tang Bingbing's corpse would instantly shrivel up. Even the blood splattered on him could be devoured, but Ding Dolly did not want to do that. Because he had an even better idea. As soon as he thought of it, he acted. Ding Dolly took a kitchen knife from the kitchen and squatted in front of Tang Bingbing's corpse. Bingbing, be good and don't move. Oh right. Looks like you can't move anymore either. I'll let you meet your brother Siching right away. As soon as he finished speaking, he brought the knife down. With his current physical capabilities, chopping up a corpse with a kitchen knife was as easy as slicing melons and vegetables. Humming a tune, Ding Dolly hacked the corpse into many pieces in just a few strokes. Each piece was wiped and rinsed clean, and Ding Dolly used his ability to treat every cut surface, making sure no messy stuff would leak out. After finishing all that, Ding Dolly found a suitcase and put the chopped body parts into it one by one, arranging them neatly, and finally placed the head on top. After carefully examining his work, he felt something was still not quite right. Looking around, he snapped off a plastic flower from a vase the landlord had left on the windowsill and stuck it on Tang Bingbing's head, and only then nodded in satisfaction. The plating had to be exquisite. Of course, he sealed the suitcase and then wrapped it in a layer of plastic wrap. Using Tang Bingbing's phone, he called a Hualala, and the delivery address was the top floor of Sunflower Hotel, with the recipient being Chen Siching. Next was to wait for the Hualala order to be accepted. Hope you like this gift. While waiting, Ding Dolly took a shower and changed clothes. After the Hualala took the suitcase away, he was just about to close the door when the door of the neighbor opposite suddenly opened, and out walked a middle-aged man in his 40s. The man wore glasses and had a lecherous look on his face. This was Old Lee, the male head of the neighboring household. He was usually very sleazy. Every time he saw Tang Bingbing in the hallway, his eyes practically melted. When Ding Dolly wasn't around, he would even find all kinds of excuses to knock on the door and chat with Tang Bingbing. Several times at night, Ding Dolly had even seen through the peephole that he was pressed against the door eavesdropping. Shouting, I'm not criticizing you, but you young people need to restrain yourselves. Don't go overboard. I could hear Bingbing shouting from inside my home. After saying that, he glanced toward the inside of his own house, then leaned close to Ding Dolly's ear again. You lucky guy, your girlfriend is pretty, has a great figure, and knows all sorts of tricks. Unlike that pig of a woman in my house. You heard that? Being that loud, how could I not hear it? I get you young people. This is called role-playing, right? Old Lee had an expression like, I get it all. Brotherly, do you want to taste what your wife's flesh tastes like? HM. Before Old Lee could react to what that meant, Ding Dolly flipped his hand and stuffed a low-tier crystal core straight into his mouth. The crystal core dissolved the instant it entered his mouth. Just as Old Lee was about to open his mouth and curse, Ding Dolly kicked him back into his home, then yanked the door shut. Ding Dolly held onto the door. No matter how hard the other side pushed, it did not budge. Ding Dolly, you little punk, what the hell did you feed me? Damn it, open the door for me. Just you wait till I kill you. Old Lee, what are you shouting about? Don't disturb the kid playing games. That little punk across the hall shoved something into my mouth, and even kicked me. He's blocking the door now. Hurry over and help me get it open. I knew that slutty little fox across the hall wasn't any good. I was talking about that kid Ding Dolly. What does that have to do with Bingbing? Why are you cursing at her? Old Lee, I freaking knew you got bewitched by that fox. And you're even calling her Bing Bing so affectionately. When have you ever called me that? And you still won't admit it. I didn't. You damn fool. Stop being unreasonable. Hurry up and help me get the door open. I don't have time to argue with you. If you're not bewitched by her, why are you getting a nosebleed when I mention her name? Ah, Oldley, what's wrong with you? Wake up. Damn it. Open the door fast. Oldley has passed out. Ding Dolly outside the door, hearing the noises inside, remained unmoved and still held the doorknob in a death grip. The wife inside kept pounding on the door and yelling loudly, and just then a low growling sound like something rubbing deep in a throat rang out. Ah, ah, ah. Oldley, you're awake. What the? Oldley, Oldley, what are you doing? Ah. Soon, the painful shrieking turned into the sound of chewing food, and Ding Dolly was extremely familiar with that sound. It was the sound of a zombie feeding. In his previous life, Oldley from across the hall was one of the first wave to turn into a zombie, so Ding Dolly guessed that the first wave of people who mutated into zombies, even if it wasn't because of the mist, would still mutate if they swallowed a crystal core. Sure enough, it was just like opening up a branch of evolution inside the body. They were destined to become zombies. Hee hee, Oldley, your wife tastes pretty good. How you shouldn't think your wife is greasy now. Right after the chewing went on for a while, another growl sounded, and the chewing stopped at the same time. Clearly Oldley's wife had also mutated. Just then, shouting came from inside the house. Holy shit, holy shit. Can you even play? Are you AFK? Can you listen to the calls? Mom, give me a bottle of Coke. Then came thumping sounds of banging on the wall. That was the neighbor's son, in his teens, a silly idiot, who never wanted to go to school and just stayed home playing games. Several times he'd be yelling his head off while gaming late at night, even stomping and pounding the wall in excitement, making it impossible for Ding Dolly to sleep, so he went to knock on the door. But the one who opened it was Oldley's wife, wearing a lace nightgown, her whole body of flab bulging out through the lace mesh. Before Ding Dolly could even speak, the other side scolded him first, lashing out at him for knocking on the door in the middle of the night when he should be sleeping. Having been bitten back like that, the Ding Dolly of the time could only swallow his anger. The idiot's son's shouting attracted the attention of two zombies, and soon the same screams rang out. Once the yelling stopped, Ding Dolly opened the door directly, took a kitchen knife from their kitchen, and then walked toward the bedroom. In the bedroom, Lao Li and his wife were lying on the gaming chair, chewing furiously, the sound of their teeth grinding creaking. Hearing someone come in, the two slowly stood up. Their eyes were gray-white. Their skin was completely bloodless. Their faces and bodies were covered in blood, and their mouths were still chewing non-stop, with bits of flesh in their mouths falling from the corners of their lips. Ding Dolly lunged forward in a single stride, and with one swing of the blade, both Lao Li and his wife's heads were split open sideways. Their bodies fell to the ground, dropping two balls of light. The system very consciously auto-picked up the crystal nuclei in the brain and the balls of light. The balls of light contained food and water rewards, and there were no special skills. Damn it, a couple of useless losers. Ding Dolly spat at the corpses and cursed a few words in annoyance. At that moment, the stupid son, who had been chewed up beyond recognition on the gaming chair, let out a howl and woke up. His stomach had already been hollowed out, and his upper and lower body were completely separated. He could only turn his head and howl, stretching out both hands toward Ding Dolly in vain. That scared the hell out of me. You were the loudest. Even after turning into a zombie, you're still howling. After saying that, he directly split the idiot's son's head open. Ding. Picked up skill, game mastery. Learn it. Get lost. Alright, looking at the 3 corpses in the room, as well as the 3 extra basic energy crystals, 5 bottles of mineral water, and 3 egg-filled pancakes in his space. A family of 3, neat and tidy 1 crystal nucleus for 3 items. Profit. Besides, there's mineral water and eggs. Damn it. What the hell is an egg-filled pancake? Big bro, the supplies dropped by the target are random and are related to what the target had in life. Chapter 6. President Chen P. Meanwhile, at the front desk on the first floor of Sunflower Hotel. The front desk lady, wearing a tight short skirt and white blouse, with a tall figure and attractive face, was on the phone. President Chen, a Hualala delivery has brought a suitcase downstairs. The recipient is you. A lazy voice on the other end of the phone asked in confusion. Who sent it? The sender shown is Tang Bingbing. Oh, it's her. What little surprise is she playing this time? Bring the suitcase up. The front desk lady frowned slightly and hesitated for a moment, but still replied softly. Okay, President Chen, I'll send it up right away. The entire top floor of Sunflower Hotel was Chun Siching's private residence. The decor upstairs was luxurious, with many entertainment facilities. He often hung out here with his degenerate friends, and also frequently brought all kinds of beautiful women in and out here. That's just how this world is. Some people are born in Rome, and some people are born as mules. People like Chen Xiqing don't need to work that hard. They just need to eat, drink, and have fun every day, and the family still gives him some businesses to manage. On the huge sofa sat 4 young men. The young man in the middle, who was the leader, wore a floral shirt, with half his chest exposed. A large Hetian jade pendant hung around his neck. He looked extremely ordinary, the kind of face you could lose in a crowd and never find again. But on his lean face were a pair of narrow eyes that faintly revealed shrewdness. Holding up a wine glass, the young man clinked glasses with the 3 people beside him, while admiring the 3 beautiful women in sexy bikinis by the pool opposite the sofa. One of the young men leaned in with a flattering expression toward the young man in the middle. "Brother Chen, does that Tang Bingbing do especially many fancy tricks? I really don't understand what's so good about her. I don't think she's even as pretty as these 3 by the pool. What the hell do you know? It's only fun when you snatch her from someone else. And it'll feel best when her idiot boyfriend finds out after I'm done playing with her. Don't worry, once I'm tired of her, she's all yours." Ha ha ha, Brother Chen really knows how to play. At this moment, the other 2 young men also came over, and one of them spoke. "Brother Chen, didn't you take a liking to that little girl at the front desk downstairs? Why not just take her down when she comes up?" "Exactly. That girl downstairs is top-notch. She's got the figure and the looks. She's way prettier than Tang Bingbing." Chen Xiqing took a sip of red wine, narrowed his eyes, savoring the wine as it slid across his taste buds, then slowly said, "That's a genuine wild mare. You can't force it. If you want to tame a wild mare, you have to slowly break her in." As they were talking, the doorbell rang. At Chen Xiqing's nod of approval, the 2 security guards standing at the door opened it. Then, the front desk lady walked in, dragging a suitcase wrapped in plastic wrap. "President Chen, this is the suitcase Miss Tang Bingbing sent you." Chen Xiqing stood up, walked to the front desk lady, circled around her once, openly looking her up and down, then reached out and patted her shoulder. "You Xiaoyu, has work been hard lately? As long as you say the word, I can get you a more relaxed job, and you can name your salary." The front desk lady, Yu Xiaoyu, instinctively dodged Chen Xiqing's hand on her shoulder, nodded slightly, and took 2 steps back. "President Chen, I've delivered the item, so I'll go back downstairs to work now." After saying that, she fled the room as if escaping. Seeing this, the young men behind Chen Xiqing started hooting and laughing. "Brother Chen, this Yu Xiaoyu isn't little at all, ha ha ha. That's right. That figure is really something. No wonder Brother Chen's taken an interest." The 3 women in bikinis from the pool swayed their hips as they walked over to Chen Xiqing. The taller one among them wrapped both arms around Chen Xiqing's waist, pressing her entire upper body tightly against him, squeezing her silicone implants out of shape, and said in a coy voice, "Brother Chen, don't go forgetting your old love now that you've got a new one." The other 2 women standing nearby chimed in as well. Exactly. Us 3 sisters are all counting on Brother Chen. Brother Chen, you're so naughty." At some point, Chen Xiqing's hand pinched the woman's waist. "Ha ha ha ha, don't worry. As long as you 3 serve me well, there'll definitely be benefits for you." With that, Chen Xiqing pulled the other 2 women over, drawing peals of coquettish laughter from them. The tall woman glanced at the people standing nearby and lightly punched Chen Xiqing with her fist. "Brother Chen, there are still people here. Why don't we take a look at what that girl Tang Bingbing sent you? What good could it be? It's probably just a bunch of useless junk. That slut Bingbing pulls some little trick on me every so often. Ha ha ha. All that little money she squeezed out of her simp boyfriend has been spent on me. Her useless boyfriend grovels after her every day, and then she comes and grovels after me. That's what's interesting. That's what's fun." After saying that, he pointed at one of his 3 cronies. "Huizi, go open the suitcase." Huizi sneaked a glance at one of the women, then reached out to lift the suitcase, but froze for a moment when he did. "Holy shit, how much stuff is in here? Why is it so heavy? Zhang Jun, Tian Liang, come give me a hand and lift it onto the coffee table." The other 2 came over to help lift the suitcase onto the coffee table, and out of curiosity, everyone gathered around. Huizi tore off the plastic wrap, then everyone watched as he pulled open the suitcase zipper, wanting to see what exactly was inside. When Huizi suddenly opened the suitcase, everyone was stunned on the spot. Inside the case were many neatly arranged things that looked like body parts. And on top was a spherical object covered in hair with a red flower stuck in it. Chen, Brother Chen, this looks like a buildable adult sex doll," Huizi said, somewhat uncertainly. Chen Xiqing shoved Huizi aside and looked at the adult doll in the suitcase. No matter how he looked at it, the mole on the chest seemed vaguely familiar. After a brief hesitation, he still slowly reached out and brushed the hair away from the spherical object. Fuck. Fuck. It's fucking a person. Fuck. Chen Xiqing staggered back several steps and plopped down on the ground. As soon as he shouted, everyone else backed away too, and the women were even more frightened, screaming. Chen Xiqing sat on the ground and looked at the thing in the suitcase. Tang Bingbing, with her hair brushed aside and her face ashen, was staring at him with her eyes wide open. But those eyes, usually full of longing, had lost all vitality, and the cherry-like mouth that had once captivated him was also bloodless and slightly open. The more he looked, the more disgusting and terrifying it became. Finally, unable to hold it in, he felt a hot rush in his crotch and peed himself. Relying on his family's wealth and power, Chen Xiqing wasn't without having gotten people killed. As long as he had money, he could get many people to help him deal with someone. But seeing it with his own eyes, a person shattered like Lego bricks, he felt fear deep in his bones. Would villains be afraid? The answer is yes. The reason villains act so recklessly is because they haven't met someone even more vicious than themselves. The security guard at the door heard the cry, and in 3 or 5 steps came to Chen Xiqing's side, lowering his head to look at his wet pants. Mr. Chen, do you want to change pants? Cut the crap. Hurry up and call the police. The security guard quickly called the police, and the others in the room also hurriedly put away the things that shouldn't be seen. Chen Xiqing went back into the room and changed his pants. After calming down, he took out his phone and dialed Tang Bingbing's number. Chapter 7. Wanted across the city. Ding Dolly, who was trying hard to absorb the crystal core, was interrupted by a series of phone rings. Frowning slightly, he took out his phone and realized it wasn't his own. After searching around, he finally found Tang Bingbing's phone left to one side. Seeing the caller ID say Brother Xiqing, Ding Dolly decisively answered the call. Young Master Chen, how was it? Did you like the gift? Who the fuck are you? You're calling me and asking who I am? This fucking is Tang Bingbing's phone. You're that idiot boyfriend of Bingbing's. Young Master Chen really doesn't hold back at all when he speaks. But don't worry, I'll come find you soon. You're next to die? You crazy bastard. I've already called the police. You can't escape. You filthy losers still want to come after me? Ridiculous. Dare to go against me. Even if you somehow avoid the police, I'll definitely torment you to death. Chen Xiqing on the other end was still spewing threats nonstop, and Ding Dolly simply hung up and turned off the phone. Fuck, way too much nonsense. You're the villain and you call the police. And over here, Chen Xiqing was cursing happily when the other side just hung up the phone. Chen Xiqing called again, but the other side directly powered off the phone. Enraged, Chen Xiqing smashed the phone to pieces. Bastard. That filthy loser. I will definitely kill you. Hearing Chen Xiqing's rage, Zhang Jun knocked on the door. Brother Chen, the police report has been filed, and the room has been cleaned up too. Zhang Jun, come in. Zhang Jun pushed the door open and entered, seeing Chen Xiqing standing by the window. His face flushed red with anger, and asked softly, What's wrong, Brother Chen? Why are you so angry? The one who did this is Tang Bingbing's brain-dead boyfriend. Go find a couple of brothers from the streets and have them take that kid out for me. I'll pay 500,000. If that's not enough, then 1 million. I want him tortured to death for sure. But we already called the police. It's fine. Let them act as they see fit. If they can kill him before the police do, that's best. If the police get there first, let the brothers inside toy with him to death. Okay, bro. I'm going to take care of it right now. After saying that, Zhang Jun called to handle it. Chen Xiqing stood by the window, looking at the city outside as night fell and the lights glimmered, and said through gritted teeth, You little bastard, daring to go against me. Let's see how you die. At this moment, Ding Dolly had no idea that Chen Xiqing had already sent people to deal with him, and was strolling alone toward the nearby riverbank park. Although with his current strength he didn't need to fear the police, there was still one day before the apocalypse arrived. Better to avoid trouble if possible. Finding some secluded corner to absorb crystal cores was the real priority. What? Why not go stockpile supplies? Ding Dolly now had less than 300 yuan total in his pockets, which couldn't buy much supplies at all, and openly robbing them now wasn't wise either. The apocalypse is coming soon anyway. By then, grabbing things casually will be great, and as long as you're strong enough, the supplies you collect are yours, and the supplies others collect are yours too. Of course, supplies collected by others also count as taking, not robbing. Besides, with the system here, if you want supplies, just kill for them. Ding Dolly walked and wound his way along, trying to avoid the main roads as much as possible, taking only the dimly lit side streets or residential compounds. This was to avoid surveillance. Joke's on you. Nowadays, the country's surveillance is so advanced that walking on the main road means being found in minutes. But many alleys with dim lighting at night are very unclear on camera, especially the older residential compounds with weak lighting. At night, the surveillance is basically useless, and you can't see anything clearly. Stop arguing. Ding Dali had once worked as a security guard in an old residential compound nearby, and at night the surveillance feed was just a blank white blur. Halfway there, Phone Linwan called on voice chat. Ding Dali glanced at it and answered directly. Phone Linwan's voice on the other end sounded very anxious. Dali, what did you do? The police just came to my house to ask about you. Tell me, did you do something stupid? If you're short on money, tell me. I still have several thousand yuan. Don't do anything stupid. Did you say anything to them? What could I say? I just said you were a patient at our hospital, and I didn't know anything else. Dali, after I hang up, I'll transfer the money to you first, okay? Use it to hold out for now. No need. Buy water and food with all the money. Remember what I told you. Don't go to work and lock all the doors and windows. Dali, then you? Don't worry, I'm fine. Without chatting any further, after hanging up, Ding Dali saw someone in the residential chat group at him. He opened it and took a look. Well, they were chatting heatedly. Wei Wei Yi Xiaohen Tuqing. Holy shit, holy shit. Do you know there's been a murder in our complex? Qingxin Jiankai. How could I not know? It's right downstairs from us. Building 4, Unit 1, first floor. Yalatapite at Qingxin Jiankai. Tell us more. Qingxin Jiankai. Here's what happened. The young guy renting on our first floor seems to have committed a murder outside. And when the police came to investigate, they unexpectedly found blood seeping out from the apartment across from his. No one answered when they knocked, and when they finally pried the door open and looked inside, that scene. A family of 3 was lying neatly in the living room, the bodies mutilated beyond recognition, and the whole room was full of blood. Even stranger, the 3 bodies were all shriveled, as if they had been dried out. Yalatapite. Holy shit, holy shit. For real? Qingxin Jiankai. How could it be fake? I live right upstairs from them. I was so scared I couldn't even sleep today. Pia Piao Yuxian. I can prove it's true. I just got off work, and I happened to see them carrying the bodies out. Yalatapite. Bro, where do you work at Pia Piao Yuxian? Intro blossoms bring prosperity. This damn killer should be boiled in a frying pan. Our community's property prices are doomed now. Insurance consultant. Property prices doomed +1 wanderer without boundaries. Property prices doomed +1 cat-loving princess. Yes, yes, yes. There's a murderer in the neighborhood. So scary. Hurry up and catch him and execute him. Then, family, who can donate me some money? I want to buy cat food to feed the stray cats in the neighborhood. Not Spicy Pete at Cat-Loving Princess. From the name, I thought you were a fairy, but when I opened the photo, I saw Auntie. Auntie, you're over 60, right? Stop calling yourself a princess. Cat-Loving Princess. Which building are you little brats from? Why doesn't the murderer kill you? Guardian of Peace. I advise you to watch your words when you speak. The so-called murderer you're talking about is also in this group. Not Spicy Pete. Holy crap. I come out. Take a look. Guardian of Peace at Ding Ding, very strong, not Spicy Pete. Worshipping the expert. At Ding Ding, very strong blossoms bring prosperity. What's there to be afraid of? He ran long ago. The police have already posted a notice, for deaths are suspected to be related to him, and there's a hefty reward for reporting his whereabouts. Honest building materials. The first floor tenant. With something like this happening, the landlord is really screwed. Ding Dali casually scrolled through a bit further down, and most of it was more chat content revolving around him. He simply turned off his phone, seeing them chatting about this meaningless stuff. In another day, everyone would have to worry about whether they could stay alive. Chapter 8. First Level Awaken 1. After winding and turning around, he arrived at the Dongjiao Riverbank Park. Nearby was a canal built in ancient times. In order to develop canal culture, the government built a huge forest park along the riverbank. It's just that there usually aren't many people coming to the park. So this beautifully built, huge park had become a textbook vanity project. Before Ding Dali fell ill, in order to support Tang Bingbing, he worked several jobs every day until he was exhausted to death. And Tang Bingbing kept nagging that he was useless. After getting off work at night, when he really didn't want to go home, he would come to the canal to night fish for 2 hours before going back. Today there weren't many people night fishing by the canal. Every few dozen meters there were 3 or 5 people who had agreed to fish together at night. Looking at it, they were basically all skunked, not catching much. Ding Dali had a secret base for night fishing, a bend in the canal. A tributary dug into the park's landscaped water system. The tributary looped around an island inside the park and then flowed back into the canal. There was a stone bridge on this tributary connecting the island and the park. Under the stone bridge were 3 bridge openings. When Ding Dali used to night fish, he would hide under one of them. Because the island was remote and there was no disturbance, and there were plenty of fish, it was more like his private space. He quickly crossed the park and arrived at the secret night fishing base. Ding Dali sat cross-legged in the bridge opening. Since he couldn't go avenge Qin Siqing right now, and the police were looking for him outside, he might as well just absorb the crystal core here and get stronger, then go back when the apocalypse was about to arrive. By then, even if there were police, he wouldn't be afraid of them causing trouble. And once it was the apocalypse, anyone causing trouble would just be killed. Meanwhile, Ding Dali kept absorbing the crystal core in the bridge opening without stopping. At the same time, in the criminal police team at the police station, a young female officer walked up to a desk. "Captain Ma, we detected that the suspect's phone signal last appeared at Bend Community. Immediately have Deputy Captain Lin take a team to search around Bend Community." "Okay, Captain Ma." Just as the female officer was about to turn and issue the order, Captain Ma suddenly thought of something and called her back. "Xiao Chun, wait a moment. What is it, Captain? Is there something else? How are the bodies of the family of 3 in Xingfuli Community? They're still being autopsied." Just what? It's just that the bodies are a bit strange. After preliminary examination, the woman's and child's bodies were both mutilated, and the missing parts all showed bite marks. Strangely, the bite marks on the woman matched the man's teeth, and flesh from the woman was also found in the man's stomach. The bite marks on the child matched the teeth of the other 2 people, and likewise, the child's flesh was found in their stomachs. Although the scene had the target suspect's fingerprints and footprints, the cause of death still cannot be determined for now. Because the slash wounds on the head were all inflicted after death, the woman and the child were more like they were bitten to death. "What did you say? You mean the 2 bit their own child to death, and then the man bit his wife to death?" Judging from the bloodstains and footprints at the scene, the man probably bit his wife to death at the doorway, and then the wife got up and went into the bedroom with the man to bite the child to death. Nonsense. How could the dead stand up? Captain Ma, I don't believe it either, but this is all the information we've gathered so far. It might even be that the man died, then got up again and bit his wife to death, because the man's cause of death is still unknown, and the dried-out appearance of their bodies. The coroner said it was impossible for someone who had just died to turn into that all at once. This case itself is full of strange things. Captain Ma fell into thought, then raised his hand and slapped the table. "Like this, I'll split up with Deputy Captain Xing. He'll go to Bend Community, and I'll take a team of brothers back to the crime scene to inspect it again and see if there are any new clues. Besides, the suspect is very likely to return to his residence. We can just wait for him there. Xiao Chun, go arrange the manpower, and when you're done come with me to the crime scene." "Yes, Captain Ma." Ding Dali didn't know about the police operation and was fully absorbing the crystal core under the bridge opening. Energy accumulated little by little, and suddenly a familiar pain shot through his body. Ding Dali gritted his teeth and did his best to control the energy in his body so it spread throughout him, striving to maximize the benefits of evolution. This was also experience gained in later years. During evolution, as long as you endure the intense pain and evenly distribute the energy throughout your body, your post-evolution strength will be a bit greater. After obtaining the system's database information, this became even clearer. When Ding Dali first stepped from an awakened into a junior awakened, most of his basic stats were 55, whereas a normal junior awakened only had stats of 50 upon evolving. Each evolution made him a little stronger than those of the same level, and over time the accumulated gap was not to be underestimated. A wave of relaxed and refreshing sensation spread throughout his body, and Ding Dali successfully advanced to a first-tier awakened. System. Check my data name. Ding Dali first-tier awakened strength. 120 speed. 120 stamina. 120 spirit. 135 ability. Devour. The spatial power data now is roughly equivalent to the strength of about 22 adult men, but this is only data. The real displayed strength is definitely 1 plus 1 being greater than 2. This is the change in quantity leading to a change in quality. Now, it is very easy for him to blow a person's head apart with one punch. As for his body's current defense, aside from needing to guard against firearms, ordinary people can't inflict any damage on him at all with cold weapons. Even against firearms, he is confident he can dodge them. He swung 2 fierce punches at the air. Ding Dali was very satisfied with his current strength. You have to know that in his previous life, reaching first tier awakened was something that happened long after the apocalypse began. In his previous life, it wasn't until 3 days after the apocalypse began that official researchers first discovered that the crystal cores in zombie heads could make people awaken, and could also allow naturally awakened people to continue evolving. However, those mere 3 days had already allowed the evolution of most life forms to move ahead of humans. Ding Dali checked and saw that there were only 150 junior crystal cores left in the space. After reaching first tier, absorbing junior crystal cores was of little use anymore. To keep upgrading, he could only absorb first-tier crystal cores. He hadn't expected that reaching first tier would consume so many junior crystal cores. System. After absorbing so much energy, when are you going to level up? Is your leveling system the same as ours? Boss, my leveling system is basically the same as yours, and my energy for leveling up is already full. The reason I haven't leveled up is that you're not up to it, boss. I'm not up to it. Devour. Boss. Boss. Stop, stop, stop. Can we not resort to devouring at every turn? I'm the many children, much blessing system. The system gave it to you, but you're no use for it. Finally ran into a qualified one, and you won't go hire her. You just killed her. If you don't engage in behavior for racial reproduction, I can't level up. Boss. Just you wait. Sooner or later, I'll let you know whether I'm up to it or not. Ding Dali stretched lazily and looked at the calm water ahead. In the distance, the streetlights cast faint, flickering reflections. The night fishermen tirelessly kept casting their rods. This was the last peaceful night in this world. After admiring the night scenery for a while, Ding Dali leaned against a stone pier and rested with his eyes closed. Chapter 9: The Two-Person Killers. Just as Ding Dali was getting drowsy, and his consciousness was gradually blurring, 3 people walked across the bridge overhead. They looked around as if searching for someone. 2 of them were tough-looking, sturdily built men. But the 2 looked as if they had been carved from the same mold, clearly a pair of twins. The other person was holding a fishing rod and had a headlamp tied to his head, obviously an angler. Are you sure he's somewhere around here? One of the twins asked the angler, his eyes sharp and his voice low. Brother Wenxiang, I'm sure. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. He's definitely the same person as in the photo you sent. I was night fishing nearby at the time and saw him heading toward this little island with my own eyes. And there's only one road, and this one bridge connecting to the island. He must be nearby? Bro, are we really going to catch that kid and hand him over to President Chen? The other twin asked. Wenxiang, President Chen is offering 500,000. And that's only the price for catching that kid. Think about it. Both of us are national martial arts champions. But what use is that? Haven't we still ended up as killers, doing that kind of cleanup work for people every day? As long as we finish this job, we'll be able to get connected to President Chen. If us brothers follow President Chen from now on, it'll be better than hiding in the shadows. You 2 big brothers. If you really get connected to President Chen in the future, don't forget to give your little brother a leg up. Being a little thug every day has no future at all. Don't worry. Once we catch that kid, your reward won't be lacking. You lead the way and help us find that kid. We're not too familiar with this place. Wenxiang's expression shifted unpredictably, and his voice carried a chill. Wenxiang naturally understood what his brother meant. This angler couldn't be left alive. The angler didn't think much of it and walked straight ahead of the twins to lead the way. But after only a few steps, it felt as if his head had been struck hard by a heavy hammer, and then he fell stiffly to the ground. Bro, we haven't found that kid yet, so why are you making a move now? Wenxiang, the police are also looking for that kid outside. The only one who knows we came here is this guy, so he can't be left alive. Drag him into the bushes first. Since we know he's here, we'll search ourselves. Once we catch that kid later, we'll sink this angler in the river too. Let him go down there and fish to his heart's content. Ding Dali heard everything that happened on the bridge clearly from beneath the bridge arch, and a laugh rose in his heart. Chen Xiqing, I didn't expect that before I even came to find you. You'd send me some easy prey first. Ding Dali flipped up onto the bridge. By then, the twin assassins had already left the stone bridge and plunged into the little island to search for him. He was in no hurry to chase after them. Instead, he dragged the unconscious angler out of the bushes, stuffed a crystal core into him, and then hurled the angler in the direction of the twins. Let's start with a little surprise for you. With a creepy chuckle, Ding Dali simply sat down on the stone bridge and waited for the show to begin. The island wasn't big, and Ding Dali was now as strong as an ox. Throwing a person away was easy as pie. As the twins were searching carefully, all of a sudden something human-shaped fell from the sky not far from them. Holy shit. Bro, What the hell fell from the sky? How does it look like the fisherman? Impossible. I knocked the fisherman out. He won't wake up for a while. And how can a person fall from the sky? Go. Let's go take a look. The two of them quietly approached the human-shaped object lying on the ground. Having trained in martial arts for over 20 years and being quite strong, Wenchang grabbed the collar and gave a gentle tug, flipping the thing on the ground over. It was indeed the fisherman, his face covered in blood. Wenchang, standing aside, cried out in surprise. It really is the fisherman. What happened? At the same time, he reached his hand under his nose and felt for breath. There was none left. Bro, he's dead. Shit. Something's off. It's very likely the kid we're looking for did this. Looks like we underestimated him. Catching him won't be as easy as we thought. Bro, what do we do now? While the two brothers were talking, they completely failed to notice something strange about the fisherman lying on the ground, only to see the fisherman's fingertips twitch twice slightly, as if electrocuted. Immediately after, his tightly closed eyes flew open like a beast awakening, revealing a pair of gray-white, dead-as-ash eyes. At the same time, his hands clamped tightly around one of their feet like iron tongs. Then he opened his blood-sucking maw and, like a hungry wolf pouncing on prey, bit down on the ankle. Ah! Holy shit! This bastard isn't dead yet. Wenchang's ankle throbbed in pain, and then he kicked the fisherman in the neck. He used all his strength in that kick, and with a crack, the fisherman's neck bone broke. A kick like that would have killed a normal person already. Wenchang thought so too, cursing as he crouched down to check the bite on his ankle. Wenchang, be careful! Wenchang shouted loudly, then grabbed Wenchang and pulled him back 2 steps. The fisherman's neck was twisted to one side in an extremely distorted posture, as if it had been viciously run over by a car wheel. Yet he still propped himself up with both hands and slowly stood up, then came toward the two of them like a hungry ghost from hell. This utterly bizarre scene stunned the two brothers into a daze. They froze for several seconds. By the time they came to their senses, the fisherman had already reached them and was reaching out both hands to grab them. Wenchang reacted instantly, sidestepped, swiftly grabbed one of the fisherman's arms like a nimble monkey, twisted it behind his back, then suddenly applied force. With a crack, he ripped the arm right off. Then, using the same method, he tore off the fisherman's other arm as well. After that, he lifted a leg and, like a heavy hammer striking, viciously kicked the fisherman in the back, sending the fisherman flying out like a kite with a broken string, face planting into the ground. The fisherman lay on the ground and tried several times in a row to get up, but both his arms had lost mobility and his body had lost balance too. He stood up and fell over again, repeating this many times before finally staggering to his feet like a drunk. Damn it! What the hell is going on today? Could this thing be possessed by some filthy spirit? Its neck and arms are broken, and it can still get up. Bro, we should retreat first. This is way too bizarre. Fine. Wenchang, can you still walk? No problem. It's just a small patch of skin bitten off. It won't affect walking. Retreat. After saying that, the two ran toward the stone bridge. In a normal world, no matter how skilled you are, seeing such a bizarre scene of the dead coming back to life would only make you run for your life. Just as the two reached the stone bridge, they saw a very familiar-looking person sitting on the bridge, smoking and exhaling clouds of smoke. Big brother. Look, is that the guy Mr. Chen wants? Wenchang pointed at Ding Dali and asked his older brother, not realizing that after only a few steps he was already drenched in sweat and gasping for breath. Ding Dali flicked his fingers, and the cigarette but shot into the river like an arrow loosed from a bow. Then he turned to look at the two with a mocking expression. You took care of that fisherman so quickly? You seem to have some skills. Hearing this, Wenchang's anger flared up. So it really was you, kid, causing trouble. After saying that, he dashed toward Ding Dali. For some reason, the moment he saw Ding Dali, Wenchang felt a faint sense of danger. This was an instinctive reaction when a living creature encountered another dangerous creature, so Wenchang decisively struck first. With more than 20 years of martial arts training, Wenchang was extremely quick. As he charged at Ding Dali, he flipped both hands and 2 broken blades about 30 centimeters long slid out from his sleeves. The whole process took only an instant, and the blades were already on Ding Dali. The scene he had expected did not happen. Ding Dali stood there motionless, looking at him with a mocking smile. Wenchang was shocked, but still refused to give up. He waved both hands rapidly, slashing several times, but aside from his clothes being cut into strips, Ding Dali was completely unharmed. How is that possible? Why? You practice hard Qigong? Ding Dali did not respond to his shock, but instead glanced at Wenchang. who was swaying unsteadily by the bridge. I think you'd better go check on your brother first. Chapter 10. Martial arts expert. The two brothers had supported each other since childhood, training in martial arts together, and had an excellent relationship. So after hearing Ding Dali's words, Wenxiang subconsciously turned his gaze toward his younger brother. That one glance struck Wenxiang like lightning, freezing him in place. Because at this moment, Wenxiang was lying on the ground, looking just like the fisherman from before, with gray-white eyes and a face drained of all color, clawing and struggling as if he wanted to stand up. Wenxiang ran to his brother in 3 quick steps and 2, reaching out to steady him. Sensing the smell of flesh and blood, the newly transformed Wenxiang seemed suddenly energized, opening his mouth to bite. Wenxiang reacted quickly too. With one hand, he tightly grabbed both of Wenxiang's arms, and with the other, he supported his chin to keep from being bitten. Wenxiang, what's wrong with you? Wake up. However, his cries were like a stone sinking into the sea, having no effect at all. Wenxiang kept struggling, trying to bite him. With no other choice, Wenxiang secretly exerted force with his hands and used a pushing palm to send Wenxiang flying away. Wenxiang took the force to the chest and was sent flying backward, landing right beside Ding Dali. A low-level zombie has no ability to think at all. As long as there is flesh and blood nearby, it will charge forward like a starving wolf pouncing on prey. Wenxiang was no exception. After crashing to the ground, he only twisted a few times before crawling up again. This time, his target changed to Ding Dali. Zombies, no matter how many times you see them, are still just as disgusting. Ding Dali's tone was cold, and at the same time, he casually threw a punch. The moment his fist touched Wenxiang's head, there was only a bang, and the head exploded on the spot. Like a hammer smashing a watermelon, red and white splattered all over the ground. Ding, picked up martial arts proficiency. Learn it? Learn. Ding Dali chose to learn without hesitation. In an instant, countless punching and kicking moves filled his mind. And Ding Dali felt that the new things in his head were integrated, as if he had practiced them for decades. Haha, I didn't expect there to be an unexpected surprise besides the low-level energy crystal core. These two brothers are both martial arts champions. If one dropped martial arts proficiency, the other definitely wouldn't be bad either. Thinking this, Ding Dali's eyes even seemed to cling to Wenxiang. But Wenxiang didn't notice Ding Dali's gaze at all. He just stared blankly at his younger brother, whose head had shattered all over the floor. Unable to help but feel overwhelmed with grief, he hugged his head and cried. Cry for what? I just helped your brother find relief. But don't worry. You two helped Qin Xiqing come after me. You'll be seeing your brother very soon. After hearing Ding Dali's words, Wenxiang's eyes turned red as he glared straight at him. Then his expression suddenly relaxed, and he put on a smiling face again. Heh, I admit we underestimated your strength. No wonder you dared offend President Chun. It's just that there's one thing I don't understand. Why did my younger brother become like the fishing guy? What exactly is that thing? That's a zombie, just like in the movies. Your brother was bitten by the fishing guy, so he turned into that thing too. How is that possible? How could such a thing exist? That's the truth, and it won't be long before the whole world is full of these things. These words left Wenxiang in disbelief. If the whole world were like this, wouldn't that mean the end of the world? But after wandering the underworld for a few years, he had seen all sorts of strange things. In an instant, his shock settled down. He quietly put his hand behind his back, then looked at Ding Dali with a sinister expression. Thanks, I've really learned something incredible, but you killed my brother, so I won't let this go so easily. I wonder if your hard qigong can block this. After speaking, he pulled a pistol from behind his back and fired directly. Bang! Wenxiang had practiced martial arts since childhood, and he firmly believed in the saying, within 10 steps, a blade is faster. Beyond 10 steps, a gun is faster. But after actually coming into contact with firearms, he found that whether within 10 steps or beyond 10 steps, guns were fast and ruthless. Whenever he had a task, he could easily complete it with his skills and 2 short blades. But today, when he ran into someone who wasn't afraid of blades, not using a gun would be stupid. Wenxiang was certain that, caught off guard, one shot would be enough to take the other man's life. However, the expected scene did not appear. Just as the bullet was about to hit the target, it suddenly vanished into thin air, while the other party stood there unharmed, raising an eyebrow and smiling at him. How is that possible? Although Wenxiang was shocked inside, his hand holding the gun did not stop firing, and he fired several more shots in succession. Every shot was the same. The bullets mysteriously vanished in midair. The impact of something incomprehensible on a person is limited, but this kind of bizarre scene again and again completely shattered Wenxiang's psychological defenses. He muttered to himself, frozen in place. Enough. Your performance time is over, and it's time to see your brother. Ding Dolly said this lightly, without any emotion. Upon hearing this, Wen Chong fell to his knees with a thud and said, "Wait, I have." However, before he could finish, his head exploded with a bang, and the unfinished words could never be spoken again. Ding, picked up weapon proficiency, learn it? Haha, there really is another surprise. Learn it. I must learn it. Suddenly, countless things about knives appeared in Ding Dolly's mind. Spear, sword, halberd, axe, hook, fork, whip, mace, hammer, claw, tang, staff, lance, cudgel, crutch, meteor hammer, and all kinds of information about them. He had mastered all 18 kinds of weapons in the blink of an eye. Unexpectedly, the elder of the twins was worth so much. He really had struck gold, though Ding Dolly couldn't figure out why he had never even heard of such capable people in his previous life. He soon accepted it. After all, in his previous life, most people didn't survive the first wave of dense fog. These twin martial arts masters had probably turned into zombies when the fog descended. The corpses couldn't be wasted either. Ding Dolly placed his hand on the two bodies and activated his devour ability. The corpses visibly withered into mummies. System. Check my personal attributes. Name. Ding Dolly. First order awakened strength. 140 speed. 140 stamina. 140 spirit. 155 ability. Devour. Space. Holy shit. It increased by this much. Seeing his own attributes, Ding Dolly couldn't help but click his tongue. The two brothers' worth in his mind rose by a huge margin again. You had to know that the corpses of that family of three had only increased his attributes by 1 point, while these twin brothers increased them by a full 10 points. And it was 10 attribute points after advancing to first order. Looking at the two mummified corpses on the ground, a slight sense of cherishing talent arose in Ding Dolly's heart. It seems you two were also the kind who could take on dozens by yourselves in daily life. What a pity, you're all dried out. After finding some heavy objects and stuffing them into the corpses, Ding Dolly picked up the two mummified bodies and threw them straight into the canal. After finishing all this, he remembered there was still that fisherman he hadn't dealt with. He searched around the small island and finally found the fisherman by the water. At this moment, he was sitting there, staring blankly at the water's surface with those gray-white eyes. Even after turning into a zombie, you still want to fish? Seemingly sensing fresh flesh approaching, the fisherman struggled to get up, but Ding Dolly gave him no chance and smashed his head open directly. Ding. Picked up fishing mastery, milk squeezing mastery. Learn them? What the hell is milk squeezing mastery? Does this fisherman raise cows? After hearing the system's explanation, Ding Dolly was speechless once again. No wonder he could achieve fishing mastery, because there was no woman interfering with his happy fishing. After learning fishing mastery, he handled the corpse the same way as before, letting it sink to the bottom of the river. For a fisherman, this might have been the best resting place. After all this fussing around, Ding Dolly instantly transformed into a martial arts expert. In his previous life, he had fought and struggled through the apocalypse, his fighting style like a wild bull charging, with no technique to speak of. Now, with hand-to-hand mastery and weapon mastery, his original combat experience was like an uncut jade purified of its impurities. Redundant movements were streamlined, and his strength was greatly enhanced. This made the desire to kill in Ding Dolly's heart surge like a raging tide, almost impossible to suppress. He wished he could charge into the horde of corpses immediately and slaughter to his heart's content. Ha. Thanks Boss Chun for the big gift package. Chapter 11. The day of the end. The sun was already high in the sky when Ding Dolly stood up, stretched lazily, and loosened up his muscles and joints. He hadn't been idle this whole night. Like a keen hunting dog, he prowled around nearby, found the fisherman's fishing spot, and took all the gear away. Honestly, for a fisherman who could achieve fishing mastery, his equipment really was top-notch. Ding Dolly had no idea why this guy brought so much gear to fish in the canal. A huge box full of stuff sat by the riverbank, with all kinds of rods and various Shimano and Daiwa reels. Basically an entire equipment depot. Damn, like you were afraid people wouldn't know you had good gear. Confiscated. Ding Dolly spat, then claimed the equipment for himself. Returning to the space beneath the bridge, with nothing better to do, Ding Dolly, like a child eager to receive a new toy, took out his fishing gear and started night fishing. In the past, the gear Ding Dolly used was just a set worth a little over 100 yuan. Now that he had so much good gear in hand, he had to enjoy the feel of it. Of course, using the gear supplied by the fisherman, along with the fishing mastery also provided by the fisherman, Ding Dolly pulled all night and completely maxed out his haul. When the sun rose, it was just the right window of time, and he once again became like a crazy dancer, taking out his lure fishing gear and casting wildly all morning. Thanks for the tip, big brother fisherman, haha. Ding Dolly looked at the full load of all kinds of fish and was so happy he was like a 1-meter-long large croaker. He thanked the fisherman lying on the riverbed, and at the same time put all the catch into his spatial storage. This couldn't be wasted. After the apocalypse, the creatures in the river had all become mutated beasts. Although they would taste even better, they would also be much harder to catch. The final day had arrived. 520, the so-called Valentine's Day that came about because of a pun. In later generations, this day was called the End Day, the last carnival of humanity as the ruler of Earth. Ding Dolly fought through the night and fell asleep in the bridge underpass. He didn't care about Valentine's Day or anything like that. It was simply his last day to completely let his guard down and get a good night's sleep, because the apocalypse had arrived. No matter how strong you were, when sleeping you still had to stay alert for danger. He slept so deeply it was as if he were in a gentle embrace, so comfortable it was intoxicating. Where the stone bridge stood, a breeze gently blew, carrying with it the fragrance of flowers and grass from the park, while also lingering with the crisp songs of the birds all around. Such a pleasant environment put him so at ease that it felt like a dream, and he slept soundly until evening. When he opened his eyes, the sunset on the horizon was like a shy, blushing girl, reflecting off the water, and as the breeze passed by, the golden ripples looked like countless shards of gold dancing. All this beauty made it hard to imagine that in just a few hours the apocalypse would descend and the world would collapse. Ding Dolly stretched, about to climb out from under the stone bridge, when he suddenly heard a burst of footsteps stop above the bridge, followed by the rustling sound of clothes rubbing together. After a very indecent exchange, there was the sound of the two of them entangled together. Ding Dolly listened with a dark expression. Turns out it was a pair of wild lovers here to have some fun. He automatically blocked them out, flipped over and leaped onto the stone bridge, glanced at the pair of wild lovers, then left without looking back. A person suddenly popped out, which startled the pair of wild lovers badly. The man instantly calmed down, while frantically tidying his clothes and cursing the classics of the nation. The woman beside him covered her face and kicked him hard. "You jerk, didn't you say there was no one here?" Walking through the park, there were quite a few more people than usual, mostly young couples in pairs, each holding gorgeous roses, all sweet and affectionate. Of course, there were also some men and women whose eyes seemed a little evasive, as if afraid of being recognized. When Ding Dolly walked out of the park, the sun had already set in the west, and night, black as ink, slowly shrouded the earth. He could feel that a certain heavy fog was already beginning to linger in the air, and the sky in the distance was also gray and hazy, as if covered by a mysterious filter. At that moment, as a young couple passed by beside him, the man suddenly said to the woman, "Honey, why are you bleeding from your nose?" Hearing this, Ding Dolly suddenly turned around and looked at the woman. Her nostrils were bleeding, her face was ashen, and most importantly, her eyes were also bloodshot. This was the precursor to zombification. In his previous life, he had always thought that the thick fog would suddenly descend at midnight, but it turned out it had already started at this time. The fog was just so thin that most people had not noticed it yet. Thinking this, Ding Dolly quickened his pace home. Along the way, he saw many people had already begun to show signs of zombification, but since the thick fog had not fully descended yet, the transformation was much slower. Upon returning home again, Ding Dolly sat down on the floor, absorbing the crystal cores while silently waiting for the full outbreak of the apocalypse. At this time, standing behind the opposite door was a tall, good-looking woman with short hair tucked behind one ear, making her look both pretty and spirited. She was Chun Na, a police officer from the criminal police team. Like a leopard, she pressed herself against the peephole of the security door, staring fixedly at the door across from her without blinking, as if she wanted to see straight through it. Just like that, she kept watch all afternoon, her eyes dry and sore. Just as she was about to give up and let a colleague take over, suddenly someone opened the door across the hall. Chana could see clearly that this person was the suspect they had been desperately searching for. Tima, the target suspect is back. I just saw him open the door and go home, Chana said in a hushed voice, unable to conceal her excitement. But as soon as she finished speaking, she noticed something was off. The 5 colleagues who had been lying in wait with her were all bleeding from their noses. Tima, what's going on with you? Why is everyone bleeding from the nose? Hearing Chun Na's words, Team Ma then realized that something had trickled over his mouth. He raised a hand and wiped it, only to find it was blood all over his hand. Must be internal heat, right? The other male officers also came to their senses, realizing they too were having nosebleeds. Chen Na quickly handed everyone tissues, moving briskly. One of the officers took the tissues and joked while wiping. It's all Xiao Wang's fault. He insisted on ordering takeout last night to treat us to barbecue, and ordered 3 grilled kidneys for each of us. Eating kidneys isn't a big deal. We still had to carry out the mission. Since we couldn't go back and hold our wives, no wonder we were getting all heated up. Hearing this, Team Ma smacked the back of the speaking officer's head and pretended to be angry. Watch your words. There's a lady here too. Then Team Ma coughed twice, cleared his throat, and eased the awkwardness a bit. Cough, cough. Hurry and wipe the blood off your faces. The suspect has appeared. Prepare to act. Yes. The group quickly wiped the bloodstains from their faces, stuffed tissue into their nostrils to stop the bleeding, and then launched into action. Chen Na followed behind the others, but her mind seemed shrouded in a layer of fog, full of doubts. Could it really just be because of internal heat? But why were their faces so pale? Can a nosebleed also cause excessive blood loss? And I ate 3 kidneys last night too, so why am I fine? Ding Dali was fully focused on absorbing the first-tier crystal core. Suddenly, a series of urgent knocks on the door rang out like war drums. Thump, 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 interrupting his train of thought. He stood up and glanced through the peephole, only to see a chubby middle-aged man standing outside, looking a bit greasy and dressed very casually. Ding Dali immediately saw through the middle-aged man's condition. Seeing the tissue stuffed in his nose, he already understood. No matter what the other party's purpose in knocking was, how could he refuse a crystal core delivered right to his door? Ding Dali opened the door without hesitation. However, as soon as the door opened, 5 people swarmed down from the stairs beside it and rushed straight at Ding Dali. He did not resist and let them push him into the room. The few of them pinned Ding Dali to the ground, then locked the door. Chapter 12. I am your future husband. Ding Dali sized up the 6 people who came in. 5 of them had tissues stuffed in their noses. This scene looked extremely funny, but in Ding Dali's eyes, they were 5 walking beginner crystal cores. Ding. Detected a target you can conquer. Big brother, hurry and conquer them. Huh. Only then did Ding Dali notice the short-haired woman who had not turned into a corpse. Looking closely, he realized she really was different. Visually, she had to be about 175 centimeters tall, almost as tall as Ding Dali. And although she was wearing loose jeans, you could still tell she had long legs and a perky butt. As for her looks, she was much better than Tang Bingbing. He silently gave the system an order in his mind. View other parties' information. Chen Na rating. 90 human female strength, 6 speed, 7 stamina, 7 mental, 7 ability. Pinning awakening. After checking her information, Ding Dali was secretly startled. A woman rated 90 was already this good looking. What would an even higher score be like? And this woman's physical condition was too good, wasn't it? Her base stats were so high. And her, but is so big too. She's definitely able to bear children. Big brother. This human female isn't wearing makeup. If human makeup is used, her rating might be even higher. Human makeup makes it impossible for the system to rate normally. So amazing. Hearing this, Ding Dali looked at Chen Na more carefully. Haha. Her skin really is great. Haha. So tender. Seeing the suspect pinned to the ground, showing not the slightest fear and instead staring at her with a lecherous, pig-like expression, Chen Na was instantly dumbfounded. Not only was she dumbfounded, the other 5 police officers were too. They were all thinking, has this suspect's brain gone bad? Does he even understand the situation right now? You'd better behave yourself. Don't look around. The few of them quickly cuffed Ding Dali's hands behind him to a wooden chair. Captain Ma only felt dizzy and lightheaded, but he still forced himself to shake his head, then took out his ID and flashed it in front of Ding Dali. Ding Dali, we're from the criminal police team, and I'm Captain Ma Baohua. We suspect you're involved in 2 murder cases and hope you'll cooperate with our investigation. Ding Dali looked up and met Captain Ma's eyes directly. At this moment, Captain Ma's eyeballs were already covered in bloodshot veins. If the dense fog had fully descended, he would probably have long since turned into a walking corpse. The corners of Ding Dali's mouth curled up slightly, revealing an almost imperceptible smile. Then he turned to look at Chen Na standing nearby. I only told the officer over there to let her go to the bedroom with me. I want to explain the situation to her alone. Hearing this, Chen Na grew angry. Her face instantly flushed bright red. Just as she was about to speak, Captain Ma preempted her with a furious shout. Stop playing tricks. Ding Dali, I'm telling you. We have ample evidence proving that you killed the person. This is your last chance. Ding Dolly, however, didn't care, and his tone remained unhurried. I said I'd only explain it privately to the officer over there. If you're not at ease, you can tie me up even tighter. Just as Captain Ma was about to continue scolding him, Chen Na hurried forward to interrupt. Captain Ma, since he wants to talk to me alone, let me try. I just took a look. We can cuff him to the heating pipe in the bedroom. I don't think he'll be able to pull any tricks. Captain Ma frowned and thought for a moment, then agreed to Chen Na's proposal, but still didn't forget to remind her. Be sure to stay safe. Criminals trying to escape punishment love to pull tricks. After speaking, he glanced at Ding Dolly, then leaned down to whisper in Chen Na's ear. If necessary, you can shoot. Given Ding Dolly's current abilities, whispering like this and saying it directly made no difference. He heard it clearly, but he didn't take it seriously because his goal had always been this beautiful policewoman. Shoot. Who's the one shooting is still hard to say. Chained to the bedroom heating pipe, Ding Dolly calmly watched Chen Na go to close the bedroom door. That figure is really nice. For some reason, Chen Na always felt that the way this guy looked at her was full of aggression. She wanted to end this interrogation quickly and was just about to speak when Ding Dolly beat her to it. I remember that I deliberately took a detour on the way back and spent quite a bit of time. Officer Chen, could you tell me what time it is now? Hearing this, Chen Na subconsciously looked at her phone. It's 11:40 now, 20 minutes left. Wait a second. How do you know my surname is Chun? I'm sure I never introduced myself, and we didn't know each other before. Not only do I know your surname is Chun, I also know your name is Chen Na. How do you know that? Where have you seen me? You are my future wife. Of course I know what your name is. Hearing this, Chen Na felt like she'd been played and no longer cared how the other party knew her name. She shouted angrily, "You really are messing around. I advise you not to waste time and honestly explain your motive and the process of the murder." No matter how angry Chen Na got, Ding Dolly still said with a half smile, half nod, "I'm not messing around. I came back from the future. I really am your husband." Chen Na was directly amused by this string of words in anger. Hee, do you think I'd believe such nonsense? Ding Dolly curled his lip, his expression calm and natural, as if he were stating a fact. Seeing that Chen Na's look at him was still full of hostility, Ding Dolly continued, "How about we make a bet?" "A bet on what?" Chen Na looked puzzled. Ding Dolly spoke unhurriedly. "If what I say really happens next, then it proves that what I said is true, and that I really came from the future. If it doesn't happen, then it proves what I said is false. By then, whatever you ask me I'll answer, and I'll be at your mercy." Chen Na's mind turned. She also wanted to see what exactly the other party was up to, so she agreed readily. Seeing this, Ding Dolly raised his hand and pointed at the window. "Pull the curtain open, and in another 10 minutes. That is, around midnight, the world outside will be instantly covered by thick fog." Chen Na suspiciously pulled open the curtain, pressed her face against the window, and looked outside. But aside from the sky being gray and hazy, there was nothing unusual. She lowered her head and looked at her phone again, then turned to look at Ding Dolly with a puzzled expression. "I'll believe you for now, and wait another 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, it'll be 12 o'clock. I hope you won't keep stalling me again." Ding Dolly gave no response, just stared unblinkingly at the window. Seeing this, Chen Na also pressed against the glass and looked outside. "You don't need to press yourself against the glass to look," Ding Dolly reminded her. "The room has the lights on, and it's pitch dark outside. If you don't stick to the window, how can you see anything outside? Don't worry, you can see that fog even without pressing against the window." Hearing this, Chen Na sat down on the bed and kept glancing at the time on her phone from time to time. Even she herself didn't realize that she had subconsciously started to believe what the other party was saying. When the time on her phone showed 11:59, Chen Na looked at the window and nothing had happened. Again, she pressed against the window and looked outside. The sky was still dull and gray, with no sign of thick fog at all. "So you really are talking nonsense. You're stalling for time. Where is this thick fog?" Ding Dolly ignored her and kept looking at the window. Seeing this, Chen Na got even angrier. "What are you still putting on an act for? Don't you know the consequences of refusing to cooperate with the investigation? It's here." Chen Na, who had been burning with rage, was suddenly interrupted. She instinctively glanced at the window, and her eyes widened instantly. He finally understood why Ding Dolly said you could see it without pressing against the window. Outside, it seemed like thick fog had suddenly fallen from the sky. Fog so dense it was almost like liquid, flowing down along the window glass. The thick fog clung tightly to the glass, and you could even make out the particles in it. No matter how you looked at it, it didn't seem like fog, but more like the house had fallen into some strange liquid. Really thick fog. But is this really fog? Chapter 13 The apocalypse arrives as scheduled. Chun Na looked at the scene outside the window in disbelief, thinking to herself, one breath of this fog would probably choke you to death, right? At the same time, she looked at Ding Dali in utter disbelief. Could everything this man said be true? Did he really come from the future? I really am his woman. Ding Dali looked completely matter-of-fact, one eyebrow slightly raised and the corner of his mouth tilted in a very annoying way, as if to say, so? Didn't I say that? Why would there be such thick fog? How long until it clears? Chun Na still couldn't help asking curiously. It'll clear by the time the sun rises tomorrow. So, do you believe what I said now? Believe what? That I'm your future husband. Even if you were right about the fog, that still doesn't prove anything. How could anyone come from the future? That's way too unbelievable. Ding Dali knew it would be hard to get someone to believe him so quickly, so he decided to turn up the heat again. Then do you think people today can do these things? After speaking, he suddenly exerted force with both hands like iron pincers, and with only a sharp snap. The handcuffs snapped apart as if they were made of paper, and at the same time a section of the radiator pipe was yanked straight off the wall. Dirty water from the radiator surged out along the break and spilled all over the floor. Chun Na was so startled by the astonishing scene before her that her eyeballs almost popped out. Her hand instinctively moved to draw the gun from behind her back. Ding Dali, like an arrow loosed from a bow. In one quick step, he pinned Chun Na firmly onto the bed. Her hand that was reaching for the gun was pressed beneath her body, as if nailed to an iron plate, completely unable to move even an inch. Chun Na was furious to the extreme, and just as she was about to speak, Ding Dali clamped a hand over her mouth like an iron hoop. Chun Na struggled desperately, but to her surprise she discovered that she was like someone under a freezing spell. She couldn't move at all. Only then did she wake as if from a dream, realizing that this man could even break handcuffs. Wouldn't it be child's play for him to restrain her? What terrifying strength was this? Was he even human? Seeing that Chun Na no longer struggled, Ding Dali leaned close to her ear and said softly, "You'd better not doubt what I'm saying. And you'd better not make any more loud noises. Because that can save your life. If you understand, blink your eyes." Chun Na blinked hard like a chick pecking at rice. Seeing this, Ding Dali let go and stood up. Chun Na did not fight back anymore, because based on this man's skills just now, she had no chance at all to draw her gun. But curiosity still got the better of her, so she lowered her voice and asked, "What did you mean just now? Why can't there be any noise? Just lie on the door and listen, and you'll know. But remember, do not open the door." Ding Dali pointed at the bedroom door and said in a low voice. Looking suspicious, Chun Na moved closer to the door panel and carefully listened through it for any movement in the living room outside. All she could hear were bursts of low growls outside, sounding as if they were coming from a pack of wild beasts. Chun Na's pupils dilated involuntarily, and she subconsciously reached to open the door. Ding Dali had been prepared and immediately pressed down on the doorknob. He cursed in a deep voice. "Damn it! Woman, can't you understand plain speech? I told you not to open the door. Do you have a death wish? What kind of thing is making that sound outside? Captain Ma and the others are all out there." "Humph. Those are the voices of your colleagues." Ding Dali shoved her back onto the bed to sit down, then continued explaining. From the moment this thick fog descended outside, this world has already become completely unrecognizable. Ever seen Resident Evil? From now on, this world is going to be 10,000 times more terrifying than Resident Evil. I noticed as soon as your colleagues came in that they were already showing signs of corpse transformation. By now, they're probably completely reduced to zombies. If they bite you or scratch you, you'll turn into a monster too. So whatever you do, don't make any loud noise. Chun Na listened in disbelief to these words from Ding Dali that sounded like an absurd fantasy tale, feeling as if her mind had been stuffed with a tangled mess of thread, all jumbled up. Seeing her blank expression, Ding Dali picked up the radiator pipe and stood by the door as if facing a great enemy. "I'll prove it to you right now. But remember, stay behind me. Don't make any rash moves. Otherwise, I can guarantee you'll die horribly. Understood?" Seeing the other party nod dumbly like a wooden chicken, Ding Dali carefully opened the door. When Chun Na saw the appearance of her colleagues in the living room, she already believed 70 to 80% of what Ding Dali had said. Because at this moment, her colleagues looked exactly like the zombies in movies. And the moment they stepped out, those colleagues seemed to sense it and turned their heads in unison. Their ashen white pupils stared straight at them, and then they lunged over with bared fangs and flailing claws. Ding Dali shielded Chun Na behind him, and the radiator pipe in his hand swung fiercely like a violent storm. and in no time at all, he smashed off all the zombies' arms and legs. The zombies each turned into limbless torsos, completely unable to fight back on the ground, able only to keep opening their mouths. What are you doing? If you do this, won't they be disabled even after they recover? Chen-Na shouted anxiously. Ding Dali did not explain and went straight to the zombie Captain Ma had become, and with one thrust of the pipe, pierced straight through the other's heart. However, the zombie did not die, and its mouth kept opening and closing. Do I still need to explain more? Once they turn into this kind of thing, they're never coming back. This is the only way to eliminate them. After saying that, Ding Dali raised the club and brought it down, smashing the zombies' heads one by one. At the same time, 5 crystal cores were automatically picked up by the system. Ding. Picked up grilled kidneys, *20 ding. Picked up firearms mastery. Learn. He didn't waste the remaining corpses either, activating his devour ability, and each of his attributes increased by 10 points. Although the increase wasn't as high as from those twin killers, it was still pretty good. It seems these police officers were in fairly good physical condition after all. And that Captain Ma, who looked all bloated and pig-headed, was actually a shooting expert. You really can't judge a person by appearances. Chen-Na sat on the floor against the wall, staring blankly at the dried-up corpses of her colleagues. Everything that had happened tonight had completely overturned her understanding of the world, but having seen it with her own eyes, and with the occasional screams now coming from the residential complex, she had completely believed Ding Dali's words and could not help secretly making up her mind. Ding Dali handed over a bottle of mineral water. Chen-Na took it and looked up at the man in front of her, who looked like a skinny monkey. I have 3 questions. Ask. The family of 3 across the hall also turned into those monsters. So you killed them? Ding Dali nodded. Is the world really ending? Ding Dali nodded again. To be exact, it is the end of humanity and a paradise for other creatures. Humans have controlled the earth for too long. Starting today, all creatures in the world have begun a mad path of evolution. Of all the humans outside, only 1 in 10 remains. The zombie you saw today is one form of human evolution. Hearing about the end of the world, a barely noticeable smile flashed across Chen-Na's lips. After thinking about it, she asked again, in the future, am I really your woman? Ding Dali felt a little guilty, thinking, come on, I don't even know you in my previous life. If it weren't for your long legs, no? If it weren't for the fact that your score was acceptable, I wouldn't bother fooling you. Though he thought that way, he still nodded firmly and without changing expression. Chen-Na looked him over and said with a puzzled expression, really? Then why are your eyes looking upward? Of course it's true. Didn't everything I said tonight happen? Didn't they all turn into zombies? Didn't I tell you the truth? Am I not your husband? Yeah, that's right, I'm from the future. I'm your husband. Chapter 14 System Upgrade. Chen-Na realized that she had successfully been fooled by Ding Dali, but after thinking about it carefully, it did seem to be the case. Everything this man said had happened. If he really came from the future, then chances were that she really was the other man's woman. It's just that this man is a bit far from the husband I imagined. He looks way too ordinary. Sigh. Forget it. This man says human numbers outside are down to 1 in 10, so I probably don't have much to choose from. This one then. Ding Dali didn't know what the policewoman was imagining in her mind, and was still thinking about how to keep fooling her, when Chen-Na directly stood up and linked her arm through his. Since you're my husband, then I'll follow you from now on. Looking at the policewoman's slender arms, pale pink neck, and delicate yet spirited features, Ding Dali swallowed subconsciously, thinking over and over that this was way too easy to fool. Xiao-Na, come with me. I have something to tell you. As he spoke, Ding Dali pulled Chen-Na into the bedroom. What can't be said outside? Why must it be in the bedroom? Of course, to talk about things between husband and wife. Only then did Chen-Na realize something was wrong. But the other man's strength was too great, and she simply had no power to resist. The police wanted to resist, but the bandit was too ferocious and simply not the opponent's match. After repeatedly exchanging blows for many rounds, the battle ended with the police retreating. Ding. Congratulations, big brother, on completing the race reproduction mission for the first time. The system is now upgrading. Ding. System upgrade complete. System level 1. Space increased to 1,000 cubic meters, and an ability level evaluation is now unlocked. Big brother is advised to keep working hard. The next upgrade reward will be very useful. Ding. First completion of race reproduction rewards an S-grade lightning ability and rewards 20 tons of supplies. Ding Dali looked at the supplies rewarded in the space and didn't expect the system to be quite humane. The 20 tons of supplies included not only water and food, but also all kinds of daily necessities. It's just that in my previous life, I never heard of abilities having levels. System, what's going on with ability levels? Big brother, abilities do have different levels. For the same ability, the higher the level, the stronger the power. After system data evaluation, ability levels, from weak to strong, are E grade, D grade, C grade, B grade, A grade, S grade, SS grade, and SSS grade. Then what level is my ability? Ding Dolly asked curiously. I can't rate Big Brother's Devour ability. It is unique, so its rank can only be SSS or higher. The space ability Big Brother devoured is B rank, and after merging with the system space, it upgraded to A rank. After the system upgrade, the space ability is between A rank and S rank. It can be rated as A+, and it can be upgraded by devouring more space-type abilities. View personal data. Name: Ding Dolly First Stage Awakened Strength, 140 Speed, 140 Stamina, 140 Spirit, 155 Abilities, Devour, Space A+. Lightning S. Ding Dolly tried to control the lightning ability with his mind, and a flash of electricity crackled at his fingertips. He could feel that this current could freely change shape according to his thoughts, and with just a single thought, it could shoot toward a target. This kind of operation reminded him of someone he had met during his illness. At that time, he was terminally ill and didn't know what to do. So in his desperation, he met a Taoist healer who cultivated the Tao and took him as his master. With that master's help, his health improved a lot during that period. Unfortunately, his master later left this city and went somewhere else. But during that time, he accidentally saw his master draw a talisman and summon lightning. That scene had fascinated him for a long time, but he never expected that after the apocalypse arrived, he too would be able to control lightning. Ding Dolly experimented with his ability and made some noise. And Chen Na, who was still sleeping soundly, turned over, frowned as she opened her eyes, and stretched lazily. Is it daylight already? Because the battle had been intense, Chen Na's clothes had long since been torn into strips of rags. Ding Dolly found a few loose clothes that Tang Bingbing had left behind before from the wardrobe and tossed them to Chen Na. Make do with these. These are clothes from your ex-girlfriend Tang Bingbing? A trace of barely noticeable displeasure flashed across Chen Na's face. You know quite a lot. Don't forget what I do. I'm a police officer. Tang Bingbing died so miserably, and Chen Xiqing, the boss of Sunflower, insisted that you did it. Of course we had to investigate her relationships. Did she also turn into a zombie and get killed by you? Hearing those two names, the flames of hatred in Ding Dolly's heart were instantly ignited, and he gently shook his head. She didn't turn into a zombie. I killed her directly and mailed her to Chen Xiqing. Then Ding Dolly truthfully told how he had saved them after the apocalypse and how they had betrayed and killed him. After hearing it, Chen Na was also furious. After a night of deep communication, she had already subconsciously begun to think from Ding Dolly's side. Those two really deserve to die. You saved them, and they still treated you like that. They really deserve to die. So how do you plan to deal with Chen Xiqing? I'll be going to get revenge on him very soon. It's already the apocalypse, so the law doesn't mean much anymore. You aren't going to stop me, are you? I wouldn't do that, but I want to know what happens to me in the future. Did I die too? How did I die? Chen Na asked curiously while getting dressed, and the question completely stumped Ding Dolly. He thought to himself, how the hell would I know how you died? I didn't even know you before. Seeing Ding Dolly stammering with a troubled look on his face, Chen Na clapped her hands. Suddenly, she seemed to understand something. I know. I was killed by those two bitches too, right? Nanny? Ah, right. It was those two, You guessed correctly. Ding Dolly went along with it and quickly responded. Huh, then that's not right. Tang Bingbing was your girlfriend, and you saved her. Then you said you're my future husband? That doesn't make sense. Chen Na looked Ding Dolly up and down with a suspicious expression. Just as Ding Dolly was trying hard to think of how to make something up, how to answer, Chen Na continued speaking. What? So, in the future you'll have more than one woman. How can you do that? Sigh, forget it. The world is already in the apocalypse. Marriage laws are basically useless too. Women in the future will definitely have it rough. What the heck? She explained it all to herself? Chen Na had been talking to herself, asking and answering her own questions, and in the end, she even convinced herself, leaving Ding Dolly a little red-faced and embarrassed. And at this moment, when Chen Na saw Ding Dolly's face growing redder and redder, she thought he was still angry over being killed in the future by Tang Bingbing and Chen Xiqing. She came to Ding Dolly's side and wrapped her arms around his waist, wanting to comfort him a little. Ding Dolly was completely dumbfounded. What was wrong with this woman? What was she doing? At first, he had only planned to fool her into constantly grinding rewards, and if she wouldn't cooperate, just kill her. How did this end up with her developing feelings for him? Ah, Dolly, what are you doing? Morning exercise. Chapter 15, Chen Na's ability. The two leaned against the headboard. Ding Dolly reached into the space with his right hand and pulled out an energy crystal core, handing it to Chen Na. Eat it. Chen Na took the crystal core and stuffed it into her mouth without hesitation. Because the moment she saw the crystal core, her heart was like a bonfire being lit, and her desire for it flared up instantly. And since Ding Dolly handed it to her, she didn't think much about it either. Bear with it. The first time you eat this, it'll hurt a lot. Just as Ding Dolly finished speaking, a heart-piercing, bone-chilling pain surged in like a tide and nearly made her pass out. She clenched her back teeth tightly and forced out a line through her teeth. Why the hell didn't you say so earlier? Hold on. Control the energy in your body and let it flow through your whole body. Ding Dolly reminded her aloud. The pain didn't last long. Chen Na only felt her body suddenly become light, as if she had been reborn, instantly becoming energized. Her nose twitched slightly, and she couldn't help exclaiming, "Huh, what is that smell?" Ding Dolly conjured up another pile of crystal cores and handed them to Chen Na. Go rinse yourself off. This is a necessary step in gene evolution. While you're washing, eat these crystal cores too. If you feel the energy in your body is full, try to control it so it flows throughout your body. That way you can advance. Chen Na didn't stand on ceremony either. She grabbed the crystal cores and rushed into the bathroom like an arrow, leaving the bow to wash up, while Ding Dolly sat in the living room and leisurely turned on his phone. Although the apocalypse had already arrived, in most areas power, water, and network signals had not yet been cut off. There were several missed calls on his phone, all from Feng Linwan. Ding Dolly called back immediately, and the phone was picked up after just one ring. The voice on the other end was full of anxiety and urgency. Dolly, are you okay? I'm fine. How about you? Did you stock up on supplies and lock the doors and windows? Did you already know? The whole world is in chaos. I took your advice and asked for leave, and I also bought some supplies and kept them at home. Then last night, half asleep, I was woken up by screams from inside the neighborhood. But when I looked outside through the window, there was such a thick fog. I couldn't see anything. All kinds of screams rang out for a full night. The fog only dispersed this morning. Then I saw the neighbor across from my place turn into that kind of zombie-like creature from the movies, wandering around the hallway. And also, there were these things everywhere in the neighborhood. So many people were bitten to death. What the hell is going on? Linwan, listen to me. The apocalypse has come. Just lock your doors and windows. Wait for me to come find you. I'll send you messages every day. Oh, and tap water is fine for washing your face and showering, but absolutely don't drink it. Even boiling it won't help. All right, then be extra careful. After hanging up, Ding Dolly looked through the messages, and the most eye-catching one was a big red exclamation mark. He knew it was an official message. It was nothing more than the usual stuff telling everyone to stay home in isolation and wait for rescue. In his previous life, Ding Dolly really had believed it, never realizing what real rescue had to do with ordinary people. Ding Dolly had no family. Because he was sick and people feared he would borrow money from them, everyone treated him like a plague god and avoided him whenever they could. So he had no friends either. Other than Feng Linwan, no one sent him messages. But quite a few people were still chatting in the community group. The conversation mainly revolved around last night's heavy fog and the monsters outside. It seemed they still hadn't realized that the world had completely changed. After briefly scrolling through it, he did see someone mention him. Chengxin Building Materials. I saw the light on in our first floor unit last night. At Ding Ding is very strong. Did you come back? Slight smile. Very Slaughter City. We're doomed. We're doomed. The serial killer is back. Not Spicy Pit at Slight Smile. Very Slaughter City. Are you an idiot? The whole community is full of killers now. Is one more really going to make a difference? Slight Smile. Very Slaughter City. By the way, what the hell is going on with those monsters out there? That's not fucking killing. That's eating people. Not Spicy Pit. You should ask an insurance consultant about that. I saw him turn into a zombie too. He even chewed up his wife. Keep one side safe. Fuck. There's no food in the security room. What the hell am I supposed to do? When exactly is the official rescue coming? Are there any property management staff who know inside information? Property Xiaozhong. There's no one left in property management. There were 4 people on duty last night in total. I'm the only one who's fine. The 4 of us were playing cards at the time, and I had a stomachache, so I went to the bathroom to take a shit. When I came back, I happened to see 2 coworkers holding down another coworker and gnawing on him. If I hadn't reacted quickly and run back to the bathroom, I would have been gnawed on too. But there's nothing to eat in this bathroom except tap water. Not spicy pit at property. Xiao Zhang, you're so miserable. Ha ha ha. If you get too hungry to bear it, just drink tap water. And if you really can't take it anymore, just make do with some shit. Princess who loves cats at Blooming Wealth has turned into a monster. He's blocking my front door right now. Can security come drive him away? Keep one side safe. I'm a security guard, not a bodyguard. I'd have to be crazy to go drive him away. If a zombie scratches you or bites you, you'll turn into a zombie too. I saw this with my own eyes. Immortal and whoring. Holy shit. I saw a naked female zombie wandering around downstairs in our building. So big. Not spicy pit. No picture, no proof. Slight smile, very Slaughter City. No picture, no proof, +1 Qingshin building materials. No picture, no proof, +1 wanderer without bounds. No picture, no proof, +1 paying big money for pics. No picture, no proof, +1 you crush my leg hair. No picture, no proof, +1 immortal and whoring. Holy shit. That brought out so many people? Image Ding Dolly was savoring the bizarre chat in the community group when suddenly a scream from Chun Na came from the bathroom. Ah. He dashed to the bathroom in one stride and, with a light tug, pulled the door straight open. At that moment, Chun Na, completely naked with her fine figure fully on display, was staring at her arm in terror. Her arm was blazing with fierce flames, yet it showed no burns at all. The shower water sprayed onto her arm with a sizzling sound, while white steam rose up. Scanning data. Name: Chun Na, First Order Awakened Human. Female strength, 105 speed, 110 stamina, 105 spirit, 110 ability. Flame manipulation A. After reading her data, Ding Dolly secretly marveled that this policewoman had excellent potential, and the ability she had awakened was also very good. Don't get excited. Use your mind to control those flames. Imagine that you can control them at will. Chun Na did as he said, and sure enough, the flames went out instantly, as if they had been absorbed into her body. She looked at Ding Dolly in confusion. What's going on? I feel like I've become one with the flames, and it feels like I've broken through 2 layers of barriers in a row. Congratulations, you are now a first-tier Awakened one. And you've also awakened the fire manipulation ability. Chun Na's eyes lit up with excitement as she grabbed Ding Dolly's arm. She seemed to have forgotten that she was still naked and eagerly pressed Ding Dolly for answers. A first-tier Awakened one? Is that very powerful? By absorbing crystal cores, one can become an Awakened one. By continuing to absorb them, one can evolve from an Awakened one into an entry-level Awakened one, followed by first tier, second tier, and so on. Put it this way, with your current physical abilities alone, dealing with dozens of ordinary people wouldn't be a problem. And with your ability added in, you could handle even more. As a police officer who also exercised regularly, Chun Na could usually take on 3 to 5 people in a fight without any problem. But as for suddenly becoming 10 times stronger and dealing with 30 to 50 people at once, she really had no clear concept of it, but it was definitely very strong. Chapter 16. Fighting a way out of the residential complex during her days on the police force, Chun Na was like a combative bull, squaring up with her colleagues every day, determined to outdo them. Deep down, her personality was even more manly than a man's, wholeheartedly pursuing ever greater strength. After hearing Ding Dolly's words, her heart was like a bonfire that had been ignited, burning hotter and hotter. Excited like a joyful little deer, she threw herself straight into his arms. Officer Chun, shouldn't you put some clothes on first? Are you trying to make me give up the idea of going out? Only then did Chun Na snap out of it and realize that she was still completely naked, and she instantly blushed scarlet with embarrassment. Like a startled rabbit, she dashed into the bedroom and hurriedly got dressed. After getting fully dressed, Chun Na handed 4 beginner crystal cores to Ding Dolly, saying, "After I absorbed 15, my energy was full. I'll absorb more after I rank up. It feels like the improvement in ability is very limited, barely noticeable, and not very useful. Here are the remaining 4 back to you." Absorbing 15 beginner crystal cores to advance from beginner to first tier is already very impressive. Ding Dolly took the crystal cores and put them into his space, watching the crystal cores vanish into thin air like a magic trick. Chun Na's eyes widened like bronze bells. In disbelief, she grabbed Ding Dolly's hand and looked it over again and again. How could they just disappear into thin air? I was wondering, when you were only wearing a pair of underwear, where did those 20 crystal cores come from? Could this be your ability? Ding Dolly did not hide it and nodded. That's right, a spatial ability. It really is amazing. I never imagined that abilities I didn't even dare dream of before could now be obtained just by eating 1 crystal core. The world really has changed. So what are we going to do next? Wait for official rescue? Wait for official rescue? You used to be part of the authorities too. Do you think that when fewer than 1 in 10 humans remain, they can organize large-scale rescue efforts? Or even if there is rescue, when would it ever be ordinary people's turn? Then what should we do? Ding Dali was in no hurry. He took out the pistols looted from Ma Dui and the others from his space. For police pistols, each with a capacity of 7 rounds. He removed all the bullets and then placed them in front of Chun Na. Seeing that Ding Dali said nothing and was instead studying the bullets, Chun Na anxiously pressed him. No, what do you mean by this? Why are you giving me the bullets? You keep all these bullets. For now, firearms are still highly intimidating to ordinary people, and you can stay at home and keep watch. There's a farmer's market next to this residential complex, and also a Lianhua supermarket. I'm going to collect the supplies inside. Then I also need to make a trip to Sunflower Hotel. I'm going out with you. Now that it's already the apocalypse, I definitely can't stay at home. I need to go out and see it for myself. Ding Dali couldn't help but pause slightly in surprise, secretly sighing to himself that it seemed he had underestimated this policewoman. He immediately tore a heating pipe off the wall and handed it to her, while gripping his own tightly in his hand. Good. If you want to become stronger in the apocalypse, the only way is to keep fighting. Stay by my side and use this iron rod to deal with the zombies. Remember, a zombie's weak point is its head. The crystal core is hidden there too. Remember, if you can avoid firing, then do your best not to fire. Because zombies will swarm over at the sound of gunfire. Right now, the ones outside are all low-level zombies, only a bit stronger than ordinary people, although they don't pose a threat to us. But once their numbers increase, even if we had heaven-reaching powers, we'd still be worn down to death by them. Chun Na nodded to show she understood, and Ding Dali also gave a slight nod. Then he gently pushed open the door and walked out. The corridor was completely empty, so quiet that it made one's heart pound with unease. However, that strong smell of blood drifted down the stairs like a ghost from some unknown floor above. Ding Dali made a silencing gesture, signaling Chun Na to stay quiet and follow closely, then slowly opened the building entrance door. The residential complex had already undergone earth-shaking changes. The plants in the greenbelt seemed to have been enchanted, growing wildly overnight and becoming tall and dense. The originally short lawn had now grown to waist height, and the original trees had grown several stories taller. Even the cracks in the road had sprouted many plants 30 to 40 centimeters tall. However, there weren't many zombies. They were scattered here and there, with only 1 or 2 every few meters. Roughly estimating, from the building they were in to the gate of the residential complex, there were about 20-odd zombies wandering around. Perhaps because the outbreak happened in the middle of the night, most of the zombies in the complex were locked inside their homes, and not many were roaming outside. But Ding Dali knew that after today, once the zombies trapped indoors had eaten all the flesh and blood they could find, they would do everything they could to get out of their homes. When that happened, the number of zombies in the outside world would multiply. So today is the best day to act. Don't walk close to the greenbelt. There's no telling what mutated creatures might be hiding in there. We'll head straight for the gate of the residential complex. Kill all the zombies along the way one by one. Every strike must be fatal. Beyond 5 meters, a low-level zombie's eyesight is far worse than its hearing. Ding Dali quietly instructed Chun Na. Then, like an arrow released from the bow, he charged out first, rushing at lightning speed to the 2 nearest zombies, raising his club and bringing it down. And one zombie's head burst open like an overripe watermelon. Chun Na was not to be outdone, staying right on his heels at the very moment Ding Dali made his move. She copied him and smashed a zombie's head cleanly and decisively. With Chun Na's current strength, blowing apart a low-level zombie's head was as easy as pie. Chun Na killed it in one strike. Looking at the fallen zombie corpses and the heads shattered all over the ground, Chun Na's gaze flickered like a shooting star, revealing an expression of utter excitement. She didn't even care about the filthy blood splashed on her body, and actually crouched down on the ground to search through the pile of gore until she found a crystal core. Looking at Chun Na's face full of excitement, holding up a crystal core smeared with filthy blood and handing it to him as if asking for praise, Ding Dali froze for a few seconds, his heart pounding like crazy. Damn, why is this woman so excited? If I hadn't personally confirmed she was a woman, I'd have thought she was some super macho freak. Though that was what he was thinking, he still didn't forget to praise her in a low voice. Officer Chun, you did great. It's just that from now on, for the crystal cores we kill, you don't need to pick them up yourself. My space can automatically collect them. These were also told to Ding Dali by the system, counted as part of the system's humanized features. It's just that, apart from items like skills and supplies dropped by those killed by Ding Dali himself, those killed by others only drop crystal cores and nothing else. For example, the zombie Ding Dali just killed dropped a box of ultra-thin condoms, while the one Chen Na killed dropped nothing but a crystal core. While explaining it to Chen Na, Ding Dali activated his devour ability, draining the zombie corpse dry like a sponge soaking up water. Chen Na asked curiously in a low voice, "This method of draining people dry, does it also count as a spatial ability?" "No, this is another ability of mine." After saying that, Ding Dali took the lead and charged toward another zombie not far away. Chen Na followed close behind step for step, but inside she was even more thrilled, like a little deer wildly leaping around. As expected of my man, he actually has two abilities. But how could she know that Ding Dali had far more than just these two abilities? The two of them were far stronger than the basic zombies and killed their way to the entrance of the neighborhood without causing any disturbance. There were 28 zombies in total, and Ding Dali only took down 10 of them. Don't ask why. Ask, and the answer is that Chen Na was as hyped up as if on steroids, and the more headshots she got, the more excited she became. This made Ding Dali even more suspicious that the first woman he'd taken in might have something seriously wrong with her brain. From the 28 zombies, they obtained 28 basic crystal cores, plus various supplies, as well as 2 skills, lockpicking expert and electric scooter driving mastery. The skills he'd picked up before were all mastery. This lockpicking skill was actually an expert. Looks like some master thief came to the neighborhood under cover of night to commit a crime and ended up staying here for good. Places like this old residential complex are often targeted by thieves. As for that electric scooter driving mastery, Ding Dali picked it up from a delivery guy. He'd seen him around the neighborhood before, and his riding skills really were excellent. So he decisively gave up on learning the later skill and chose lockpicking expert. Chapter 17 Sweep. When they stepped out of the neighborhood gate, a security guard in the booth by the gate was like an ant on a hot pan, bouncing around non-stop and waving at them. But Ding Dali turned a blind eye, motioning for Chen Na not to pay attention, then sprinted toward their destination like an arrow released from a bow. About 20 meters to the right after leaving the neighborhood gate, there was a parking lot. And through the parking lot, the prefab market building stood quietly there like a huge treasure chest. About 200 meters to the left of the neighborhood gate, there was a crossroads, with Lianhua Supermarket on one corner, while the other 3 corners were 3 neighborhoods of very different styles. Compared with that, the area around the farmer's market was all open space. And when the apocalypse descended, it was the dead of night and utterly silent. At that time, the farmer's market was sure to have been tightly shut with not a single person inside. Soon, the two of them arrived at the parking lot. The lot was deathly quiet. There wasn't a single zombie, and there were only a handful of vehicles, as if it had been forgotten by the world. After quickly crossing the parking lot, an iron fence gate stood in front of them, and beyond it was the farmer's market. It's just that the iron gate was locked tight at night. But with the lockpicking skill he had just learned, Ding Dali easily opened the fence gate. The farmer's market was a vast indoor market, and after 8 o'clock at night, the place would be cleared out. Merchants and customers all had to leave, and after the rolling shutters at both ends of the market were closed, there was one security room at each end on duty. Inside the security room on this side where the two of them arrived, only one zombie remained, along with a scene of utter chaos. The minced flesh, gnawed beyond recognition, still vaguely retained some human shape. It looked like 2 security guards had been on duty. One had turned into a zombie and devoured the other completely. Ding Dali mercilessly smashed the guard's head, then came to the huge rolling shutter door and was about to pick the lock. But Chen Na suddenly interrupted him and asked softly, "Honey, what are you doing?" "What else? Of course I'm picking the lock on the rolling shutter door. Why don't you use a key to open it?" After saying that, Chen Na handed Ding Dali a set of keys, and with a smile back over her shoulder, she pointed at the security room, as if to say, "Is it possible the guard already has the key?" Ding Dali had just gotten the skill, lockpicking expert, and was a little carried away, completely overlooking this point. He coughed awkwardly. Well, I just want to see how good this door is." He pushed open the old-looking rolling shutter door of the market, and inside, apart from a dazzling array of goods, there was not a single zombie or human in sight. This agricultural market was neatly divided into 3 areas. On both sides were compartment rooms that looked like beehives, filled with rice, flour, cooking oil, all kinds of meat, aquatic products, tobacco, alcohol, tea, and more. In the middle were 2 rows of stalls built with wooden planks. These stalls had relatively cheap rent and sold fruit, vegetables, and dried goods. This agricultural market, with its gates shut tight, was simply a treasure trove of supplies. Start by gathering supplies from the middle stalls, and absolutely do not let your guard down. After Ding Dali finished speaking, he opened an invisible spatial gate and swept all the fruits and vegetables into it. This spatial gate was a magical ability he gained after absorbing Tang Bingbing's spatial power. As long as one controlled the size and position of the spatial gate properly, anything it touched could obediently enter the space. This was not only useful for receiving large quantities of supplies, it could also be used to defend against long-range attacks. Back when the assassin Wen Chong fired a bullet, it was taken into the space through this magical spatial gate. Objects entering the space would remain unchanged, including the kinetic energy they carried. As long as Ding Dali had a thought, the bullet would shoot out of the spatial gate at the same speed it had when it was just taken in. While Ding Dali busied himself gathering supplies, Chen Na was on guard and also picked up anything he missed, tossing it to Ding Dali like a ball. Just as the two of them were collecting things with great enthusiasm and joy, at a braised meat shop on the other side of the agricultural market, two men in security uniforms were sitting on the ground, wolfing down braised meat while washing it down with beer. One of the burly security guards let out a loud burp and, recalling what happened last night, was still shaken. Damn bad luck. If I hadn't reacted fast last night, dragged you to open the rolling shutter door and got inside, by now the two of us would probably have become that monster's shit in the thick fog. I wonder if the two brothers on the other side are dead or alive. The other guard was smaller, with one eye even being a squint. He couldn't find a suitable job, so he ended up working as a market guard. Because he looked especially like a rat, everyone gave him the nickname Rat. Usually he was the one with the most clever tricks. With a roll of his eyes, an idea formed in his mind. Brother Wu, if it weren't for you, I'd have been eaten by that thing last night too. I checked on my phone and they all call that monster a zombie. And it seems zombies are everywhere in the world. Looks like the world has gone to chaos. We need to make plans early. Oh, what good ideas do you have? Let's hear them. The burly guard took a bite of meat and looked at Rat with an inquiring gaze. Fortunately, we have this agricultural market. So much food. It's enough for us to survive. But just the two of us definitely can't hold this place. In a bit we can open the rolling shutter door on the other side and go check on the other two brothers. If they're still alive, the four of us plus 4 stun batons and all this supplies should be able to recruit a group of people from a few nearby residential communities. By then, with people and supplies, wouldn't we be able to do whatever we want? The squint-eyed look in Rat's eyes flashed with sharp light, as if he could already see a future where he could call the shots. The burly security guard, named Wu Tian, had in his early years fought and stirred up trouble and seriously injured someone, and spent a few years inside. After he got out, he still couldn't find work, so through an introduction he temporarily became a security guard at this agricultural market. But even so, he was not one to stay out of trouble, constantly getting into conflicts with other security guards. Fortunately, he was big and strong and had plenty of fighting experience, so the other guards were all beaten into submission by him. In no time, all the security staff at this market became his underlings. Hearing the squint-eyed guard Rat's words, Wu Tian also began to feel restless. In the past, when he was hanging around on the streets, he pursued fighting and killing, hoping that one day he could become a big shot in one area. Unfortunately, the legal, harmonious society suppressed his ambitions of ruling the roost. Now it was different. The world had fallen into chaos, and the restless heart could no longer be suppressed at all. His dream of becoming a big shot had completely revived. Gripping the stun baton in his hand, Wu Tian's eyes were full of fighting spirit. He patted Rat on the shoulder and did not forget to casually wipe the oil from his hand on him. Rat, our chance has come. You've got a good brain. From now on, you'll be my strategist. How about we become a big shot in this chaotic world together? Let's go? We'll go to the other side now and find the other two brothers. Rat didn't understand why Wu Tian suddenly became so full of fighting spirit, but this was exactly what he wanted. So he followed him out of the braised meat shop and headed to the other side of the market. After only a few steps, Rat saw a man and a woman not far away. The man looked very ordinary, but the woman was really beautiful, and her figure was way too good. Wait a second. Holy crap. What's going on here? Why is everything disappearing where those two have walked? Could it be an hallucination? Rat rubbed his eyes in disbelief and confirmed once again that those things really had vanished into thin air. This unbelievable sight made him cry out immediately. Holy crap. Brother Wu, someone's stealing our supplies. His shout drew both sides' attention to each other. Wu Tian glanced at the rolling shutter door that had been opened on the other side, his brows knitting slightly, and he already had a guess in mind. The other two security brothers were probably dead, so he said in a deep voice to Rat, "The other two brothers are probably gone already, either turned into monsters or eaten by monsters. Otherwise, there's no way they'd just let these two in. Let's go? Let's deal with this punk. He dares take our things. No matter how he took them, beat him until he spits them back out." Meanwhile, Ding Dali and Chun Na stopped receiving the supplies and stood where they were, watching a burly and a thin security guard walk toward them. The burly one had a stick in his hand, looked fierce, and seemed extremely arrogant. As for the thin one, Ding Dali couldn't help muttering to himself, "Holy crap, this skinny guy looks even more arrogant. So arrogant it's beyond belief. He doesn't even look at people properly." Chapter 18, Is the stun baton really that impressive? Which blind idiot dares come here to steal things? Wu Tian shouted angrily as he walked. Years of street fighting had taught him that he had to crush the other side's momentum first. When he got closer and saw Chun Na's face clearly, Wu Tian froze for 2 seconds and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. He thought, this little hottie is way too stunning. Looking at the guy beside her, he was plain and ordinary, not even as good-looking as him. And he didn't seem all that tough either, so ideas naturally started forming in his mind. Kid, I don't care how you managed to get the supplies away. If you don't want to die, hand them over obediently. Then leave that woman behind. And get lost yourself. I'll let this slide for now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Yeah, kid. Look at the difference in build between you and our brother Wu. You're no match at all. If you're smart, leave the supplies and the woman and get lost. Mao also shouted beside him, acting mighty under Wu Tian's banner, while his slanted eye kept sizing up Chun Na. Ding Dali's face was expressionless as he looked at the two men before him with cold eyes. Seeing no reaction, Wu Tian thought he wanted to stay here and couldn't help bursting into laughter. Ha 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 ha. If you don't want to leave, that's fine too. I can take you in as my little brother. But the woman still has to be handed over. Consider it your initiation gift. Exactly. You're so ordinary and not even as good looking as me. How can you shamelessly occupy such a beautiful woman? Since you want to join up, hand the woman over to Brother Wu, and you'll be guaranteed good food and good drink from now on. And you'll get other women to play with too. Ding Dali and Chun Na exchanged glances and could both tell what the other meant. Were these two idiots? Ding Dali was even more annoyed inside. That damn skinny guy, crazy enough not even to look people in the eye, looked like a rat, and yet he dared say he was better looking than me. So Ding Dali turned his head and looked teasingly at the two security guards, then raised his voice and said word by word, "You seem to have misunderstood me. I'm not leaving, and I'm certainly not joining you. As for my woman, there's no way I'm handing her over." As soon as Wu Tian heard that, he immediately flew into a rage. He shook the stun baton in his hand, his face ferocious and his eyes vicious as he stared at Ding Dali. "Kid, King dare mess with me. If you want to collect supplies right under my nose, you'll have to ask whether the stun baton in my hand agrees." As he finished speaking, he pressed the switch, and the end of the baton crackled with electric sparks. Then he put force into his arm and swung it straight at Ding Dali's head. This was also experience Wu Tian had gained from years of fighting and brawling. As long as you strike fast enough, and that's enough. Most of the time, one hit was enough to subdue the other side. Mao was also showing off beside him, pressing the stun baton, so it snapped and crackled. In Ding Dali's eyes, the swinging stun baton was no different from slow motion. He easily sidestepped it. Then he looked at the burly man in front of him as if he were a fool. Wu Tian felt a chill running down his spine from being looked at like that, and judging from the other party's reaction and dodging speed, he was probably also a skilled fighter. But since he had already attacked, even if the first strike missed, he couldn't stop. He had to keep attacking until he beat the other side into submission. That was also the experience he had gained from being a hooligan for so many years. So he used both hands and feet to continue the assault. Ding Dali stepped back a few paces to avoid the attack. In fact, even if such an attack landed on him, it still couldn't hurt him. Wu Tian kept attacking, but no matter how he attacked, he couldn't hit him. As Ding Dali retreated, he advanced, and just happened to arrive at the spot where Ding Dali had been standing before, right beside Chun Na. Seeing that he couldn't hit Ding Dali, he turned his head and saw the beautiful woman right next to him. He thought, "Isn't this falling right into my hands? This kid is like an eel, slippery as hell and impossible to hit. But if I grab this kid's woman, I won't have to worry about him not giving in." Once he had the idea, he had to act immediately. So he turned and lunged at Chun Na. Ding Dali had already been on guard and had originally wanted to keep playing with this idiot for a while longer. Seeing that the other side was so impatient to seek death, he acted without hesitation. The instant Wu Tian turned sideways, Ding Dali flashed in close and slammed a heavy punch right into the other man's chest. He had thought the opponent was only nimble because he was skinny and didn't have much strength. So even when Wu Tian saw Ding Dali flash in front of him, he didn't take any precautions, thinking, with your little frame, I can just let you hit me once. What's the big deal? Grabbing the beautiful woman is what matters. But the moment Ding Dali's fist touched his chest, he regretted it immensely. In his mind, he thought of his mother, his first love Xiao Hua, the widowed woman next door, and even went over all the rules and regulations he had memorized in prison. But regret was useless. A crisp sound of bones breaking, accompanied by Wu Tian's howls, sent him flying in an arc several meters away. Then he slammed heavily into the stall, scattering broken boards and vegetables all over the ground. The air instantly fell silent, with only the sound of Ding Dali's shoes stepping down one step at a time. Wu Tian's chest caved in, and blood foam kept gushing from his mouth. But he wasn't dead yet, still gasping in short breaths. When he realized someone was standing in front of him, Wu Tian laboriously lifted his eyelids, his slightly trembling lips spraying blood foam as he forced out a sentence. Don't kill me. I hate it most when people touch what's mine. If you insist on acting like a loser, wouldn't it be better to just live properly? Ding Dali glanced at the electric baton on the ground, let out a light snort, and showed a disdainful expression. Humph. Is an electric baton really that impressive? Have you ever been struck by real lightning? After saying that, Ding Dali slowly raised his finger. A flash of lightning flickered at his fingertip, and in an instant a lightning ball the size of a soccer ball appeared. Under everyone's stunned gaze, the lightning ball turned into a lightning snake and directly blasted toward Wu Tian's head. The electric light rapidly enlarged in Wu Tian's eyes. Before he could react, the flash of lightning streaked past. Where his head had been was now a hollow, blackened void. There wasn't even any blood. It had turned to ash. After doing all this, Ding Dali involuntarily took a knife out of his space and hacked Wu Tian into 8 pieces. Damn, why do I feel like I can't help wanting to tear something apart? Ding Dali muttered to himself. Plop. Seeing Wu Tian directly turn into barbecue, the rat standing off to the side was so scared that he dropped to his knees at once. It would have been one thing if this guy killed someone. But why was he dismembering him too? This damn freak must be a pervert. He immediately threw away the electric baton in his hand and started kowtowing with snot and tears streaming down his face. Ah, big brother. Big brother. I'm convinced. It was all him, all that damn Wu Tian. He was blinded by greed and wanted to take your woman for himself. He got what he deserved. Big brother. Big brother. I'm really convinced. Please just spare me. You're convinced? I don't think your eyes look very convinced at all. Hearing this, the rat nearly pissed himself in shock, howling miserably. Big brother, this is just my squint. It's a disease. It doesn't mean I'm not convinced. I'm asking you, besides the two of you, is there anyone else in this market? No, none. At night, there are only 4 of us on duty. On our side, it's just me and Wu Tian. The rat wiped the snot and tears off his face and kowtowed again, trembling all over. Big brother, the trouble for you really was Wu Tian's idea. It had nothing to do with me. Please just let me go like you'd let a mouse go. I can let you go too. If you can beat her, I'll let you leave. If you lose, you die? Ding Dali said teasingly, pointing at Shen Na. Hearing this, the rat froze for a few seconds, apparently not quite believing it, and asked with some suspicion. You mean beat her? As long as I beat her, I can leave? Ding Dali nodded, and the rat instantly perked up. In his eyes, Ding Dali was just a show-off and a freak. Relying on his strength and that bizarre ability, he was way too full of himself. No matter how skinny he was still a man. If he had to fight a pretty young girl, wouldn't it be easy to take her down? Then let's fight. And I'll even get to have close contact with a beauty. The more he thought about it, the more fired up and excited he got. Howzy turned to look at Chen Na. One look and he was instantly dumbfounded. The woman across from him actually looked even more excited than he was. She even threw the iron rod in her hand aside and started cracking her knuckles. Was she planning to fight me barehanded? Was this woman also a lunatic? Howzy couldn't help thinking that, but his hands weren't idle. Wu Tian usually kept telling him that when punks fought, it was better to strike first. Howzy lifted the stun baton and swung it at Shen Na. Crackling with sparks, the stun baton lashed toward Shen Na. The distance was so close that an ordinary person couldn't dodge it at all. But Shen Na was a first-tier awakened, and Howzy's move looked no different from slow motion in her eyes. She bent forward a step, then reached out and grabbed the middle of the stun baton. Halsey had thought this blow would definitely win. But before he could even see what happened, the woman in front of him had already grabbed his stun baton. He had used all his strength in that strike, and she just caught it like that. And what the hell was going on? Why wasn't the baton listening to him? No matter how hard he pulled, the baton wouldn't budge at all. Chapter 19 New Hulu. Only then did Halsey realize he had been far too naive. How could anyone who hung around a lunatic be normal? But by the time he came to his senses, it was too late. Chana didn't give him any chance at all and directly snapped his neck. Then she clapped her hands and raised an eyebrow at Ding Dolly. Someone like him, even when I hadn't awakened yet, I could easily subdue in just a few moves. You had him fight me. I'm afraid that wasn't giving him a chance, but testing me instead, right? Let me guess. Were you trying to see whether I could bring myself to kill? With that, she gave Ding Dolly's chest a coy punch, then leaned into his arms and pretended to be annoyed. From now on, don't give me this kind of test again. You know what? In this world now, I'm even more excited than you are. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I know full well that laws are utterly useless in this world. In my eyes, the laws of the past were also nothing but decorations to some people. But now is very different from the past. Even though some people will only become more and more brazen. But now, if I don't like someone, I can just make a move. No need to think so much. Haha, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Ha ha ha. The woman in Ding Dolly's arms was laughing with excitement overflowing in her voice, leaving Ding Dolly stunned for a long moment, unable to react. Why did this woman adapt so quickly? Damn it, could he really have accidentally picked up a psychopath? However, this question was soon answered. As Chun-Na laughed, her tone suddenly turned cold, as if recalling something that had made her furious. She clenched her back teeth and continued in a frosty voice. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I handled a case. The parents of a 15-year-old girl reported that after their daughter went to school in the morning, she vanished without a trace. And 2 days had already passed. They had gone to the school several times, but still couldn't find her. After receiving the report, the police launched an operation to help search for the girl. In the end, the officer in charge of the search found the girl's body in an abandoned park not far from the school. I was ordered to investigate the case. After seeing the girl's body with my own eyes, I could hardly imagine what kind of treatment she had suffered while alive. To put it this way, the girl from head to toe. There wasn't a single patch of skin with its natural color left. Her body was covered in scars of all sizes and kinds. According to the forensic examination, the girl was sexually assaulted and then tortured to death. The girl's parents were crying their hearts out, kneeling on the ground and begging me to make sure the killer was brought to justice. At the time, I also solemnly promised that I would definitely get justice for their daughter. The case was easy to solve. There was an eyewitness, and several people's DNA was also collected from the body. Very quickly, the murderer was identified. It was done by a rich second-generation student from the girls' school together with a few thugs. I thought the case was as good as solved, with an eyewitness and sufficient evidence. Those who should be sentenced would be sentenced, and those who deserved to die would die. At this point, Chun-Na sighed and shook her head helplessly. However, things did not go as smoothly as I had imagined. Swapping the beams and pillars? Acquitted and released? Ding Dolly cut in first. Chun-Na nodded, then continued. I could hardly believe such a result. Not only could I not believe it, even the colleagues who handled the case with me could hardly believe it. The girl's parents believed it even less, and came running to question me hysterically. I still can't forget their expressions to this day. The disappointment in their eyes still cuts me like a knife whenever I think of it. They asked me, "Is this the justice you were going to give us?" I had no idea how to answer them. And that wasn't even all. That guy even deliberately walked up to me and said with extreme arrogance that he was the one who had played her to death. So what? You managed to catch him. So what? Not only could you do nothing to him, he even told me that not only could I not help her, I couldn't help her parents either. He even said, just wait and see. At the time, we were standing right outside the courthouse. Looking at that disgusting, arrogant face, I had 10,000 thoughts of wanting to twist off his head and tear his mouth apart. But all the rules and regulations wouldn't allow me to do that. The police uniform I wore wouldn't allow me to do that. At that moment, judicial fairness became a joke. That was the day I knew that the law was only used to restrain ordinary people. At the time, how I wished there were no such rules and restrictions binding me. That way I could have rushed at him without any scruples. That way I could have avenged the girl. That way I could have given them justice. I even prayed in my heart for the apocalypse to descend on the world, because if that happened, if anyone dared to be so arrogant in front of me, I would definitely snap his neck. Ha ha ha. Who would have thought the apocalypse really has come now? Don't you think this is a dream come true? Ding Dolly was originally one of the common people at the bottom of society and had seen too much of this human suffering. He had always known that fairness could never exist in this world. It is very hard for a righteous person with a fiery temper to accept such darkness. But he never expected that the former Chen Na had almost become an underground judge. He gently patted Chen Na on the back and asked softly, "What happened after that? Did that rich second-generation guy give you trouble?" "Of course he gave me trouble. I reported this case to the higher-ups several times, hoping it could be retried. In the end, the bureau chief told me to do what I was supposed to do and stop meddling everywhere, and then transferred me to clerical work. If it weren't for Captain Ma helping later, I wouldn't even have been able to return to the criminal investigation team." As for the girl's parents, to this day, I still feel I failed them. Not only because I failed to get justice for them. Not long after that incident, they both died in a car accident. Not only them, but even the lawyer who had stood on our side at the time and his wife also died in what was said to be an accidental car crash. The official statement said it was an accident, but I've always felt it was arranged by that rich second-generation guy. Enough. Don't think about it too much. In this world now, that guy is probably already dead. Even if he isn't dead, if I'm lucky enough to run into him in the future, I'll help you kill him. A fierce glint flashed through Chen Na's eyes as she spoke coldly. I don't need your help. If he's really still alive and I run into him, I'll cut him to pieces. So, don't ever pull this kind of boring test again. I've been looking forward to these days without restraints for who knows how long. Whoever tries to act all big shot in front of us from now on, I'll snap the bastard's neck right away. Snapping a neck isn't enough. Ding Dolly suddenly blurted out this sentence, then raised his hand. A flash of lightning struck the head of the rat's corpse, and the head instantly turned to scorched ash. He kissed Chen Na on the cheek and then said with a smile, "A little survival tip for the apocalypse. Remember this. To completely kill someone, destroy his head. There are all sorts of bizarre abilities that can bring people back, even if they don't come back to life. As long as the brain isn't damaged, he'll turn into a zombie and stand up again." Seeing Ding Dolly use his lightning ability again, Chen Na, who was already a bit down from talking about the past, suddenly became excited again. Her eyes almost sparkling. "Husband, is this your ability too? How many abilities do you actually have?" "For now, just 3. Can everyone have several abilities?" "No, most people only have one ability, but I guess there should be people like me who have several. After all, the world is full of strange things." "No way, husband. Hurry up and collect the supplies. Once you're done, let's get out quickly," Chen Na urged anxiously, and Ding Dolly was a bit puzzled why she had suddenly become so active. "Why are you in such a hurry to get out? I can't let the gap between us be too big. Hurry and finish gathering the supplies. I'm going out to blow zombie heads off. I want to get stronger." Ding Dolly was speechless for a while. It seemed he had unintentionally taken in a violent woman. Maybe she had been suppressed too long before the apocalypse. After turning dark in the apocalypse, Chen Na was even fiercer than Zhen Huan after returning to the palace as Neo Haru. At the very least, Zhen Huan wouldn't be blowing heads off at the drop of a hat, but Neo Haru Chen Na would. After devouring the corpses of Wu Tian and the rat, they picked up the 3 gene of braised meat and 5 bottles of beer that had dropped from them. The two walked from one end of the market to the other, back and forth 6 times before completely clearing out all the goods in this farmer's market. "Are we going to Lianhua supermarket now?" Looking at the empty farmer's market, Chen Na asked Ding Dolly in satisfaction. After checking the space, there was still room to keep storing things. "Go. We have to go?" Chapter 20 Supermarket survivors filed out from the farmer's market, passing through the rusted iron gate, and in the parking lot, several zombies were wandering aimlessly, who knew when they had appeared. The 2 of them were also completely unhurried. With a swing of the stick, they took care of them cleanly in just a few moves. The zombies on the road were still sparse, scattered in 2s and 3s. For 2 first-tier awakened, cutting a path all the way through was simply effortless. When they passed the entrance of the residential complex, the security guard in the guardroom caught sight of them again. Through the window, the security guard's hand waved non-stop like a windshield wiper, but he didn't dare make the slightest sound, fearing he'd attract zombies. Ding Dolly merely glanced over casually and ignored him outright. The zombies outside had been mostly cleared by the 2 of them, and this guy still didn't dare come out, only knowing how to hide inside and wave his hand. Someone like that isn't worth attention or sympathy. The 2 ignored the waving security guard and strode straight toward the supermarket. This supermarket wasn't large. It was a 2-story building, with the supermarket on the first floor and an internet cafe on the second. Though small, It was still a local landmark standing at the intersection. People from 3 or 5 nearby housing complexes who were too lazy to go to the farmer's market would all come here, and business was pretty good. Small supermarkets like this were everywhere in this city. Unlike the small neighborhood supermarkets converted from residential houses, this kind of small chain supermarket is all about being small but fully equipped. Besides the agricultural market, this Lianhua supermarket has the most abundant supplies around. Although Ding Dali could obtain supplies by killing zombies, he could also seize supplies from others. But on the first day, there were very few zombies outside, making it the perfect time to gather supplies. Besides, there was such a treasure trove of supplies right in front of him. If he didn't take it into his own hands, he'd be a complete idiot. Ding Dali slowly opened the supermarket's rolling shutter door with his lockpicking skill. The moment the door was lifted, a group of people stood rigidly behind the glass door like ghosts, staring straight at him, which really startled him. He had originally thought there might be at most 1 or 2 people on night duty in the supermarket, but he hadn't expected there to be so many. The people in the supermarket sized up the 2 men standing outside. They were holding heating pipes, their bodies stained with patches of blood, like fierce gods of death emerging from hell, standing there murderously. Looking again behind them not far away, 7 or 8 zombie corpses lay scattered about. Clearly, all of these were the handiwork of these 2 men. What were these 2 guys doing? They're amazing, killing so many zombies. Could they be here to rescue us? I don't think so. If it were official rescue, there wouldn't be only 2 people, would there? That's not necessarily true. We're not some big shots. It's already good enough if someone comes to save us. Everyone was discussing back and forth when a middle-aged man stepped out from the crowd. And Ding Dali recognized at a glance that this man was the owner of the supermarket. The middle-aged man spread his arms to dismiss the others, then said in a deep voice, "All right. Stop making a racket. Aren't you afraid of attracting those things over here?" After speaking, the supermarket owner took out a key, opened the chain lock on the glass door, and let Ding Dali and the other man inside. After Ding Dali entered the supermarket, the owner quickly held the door, leaned out, and looked around. Seeing that there were no living zombies nearby, he breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly retreated into the supermarket, pulled down the rolling shutter door again, and locked it. Then he let out another heavy sigh of relief. Ding Dali carefully looked around the supermarket. There were currently 8 people standing nearby. Not far away, beneath the shelf promoting milk, lay 3 zombie corpses, and beside the corpses was a blood-soaked fire extinguisher. Were those 3 zombies killed by you? Seeing these 2 murderous men come in and say nothing, but instead look around before speaking, the supermarket owner's first question was unexpectedly about the corpses on the ground. He couldn't help but feel puzzled, so he answered, "Those 3 zombies weren't killed by us. Little brother, may I ask bluntly, are you here to rescue us? The zombies weren't killed by you? You mean there are other people here?" The supermarket owner hesitated for a moment, but still replied, "Last night there were 13 people here. 3 supermarket employees turned into zombies, and then, 2 people went to deal with them. One of them was eaten by the zombies, and the other killed the zombies, but got bitten by one. We were afraid that anyone bitten would also turn into a zombie, so we tied up the bitten person. Isn't that how it's always done in zombie movies?" Ding Dali looked at the supermarket owner skeptically. "There are so many of you, and only 2 people went out to deal with the zombies?" The supermarket owner was left speechless for several seconds, his eyes somewhat evasive, and just as he was about to speak hesitantly, a heavily made-up woman stepped out from the crowd, hands on her hips, stomping the ground a few times in her high heels. She looked Chun Na up and down, then rolled her eyes in disdain, and then shrilled, "What exactly are you 2 here for? Are you rescuers or not? Hurry up and take me home. I'm sick of staying in this lousy supermarket." The supermarket owner secretly tugged at the glamorous woman's sleeve, then pointed at the clubs in Ding Dali and the other's hands, signaling her not to talk recklessly. Instead, the supermarket owner's action instantly ignited the woman's anger. Pointing at the supermarket owner's nose, she cursed, "Wang Defa, if you hadn't said last night that after unloading the goods at the supermarket you'd take me out for the holiday and buy me a gift, would I have come with you to this lousy supermarket? Just looking at your cowardly face pisses me off." Smack! A heavy slap landed on the woman's face, and her face instantly swelled up. The one who struck her was none other than the supermarket owner, Wang Defa. "Xiaoya, watch your language. With outsiders here, I won't stoop to your level. Don't push your luck. Wang Defa, fuck your mother. Have you set your sights on the slut beside this guy again? That little bitch who was bitten by a zombie. Are you not throwing her out because you can't bear to part with her too? I knew you can't teach an old dog new tricks." Back then, you were just like this. Smack. Before she could continue, another slap came. This slap was from Chunna, and she did not hold back at all. The glamorous woman called Xiaya was still yapping noisily, when her head spun all the way around, and her face ended up pointing backward toward her back as she faced the crowd. Her mouth was still opening and closing, but no sound came out anymore. After the woman blinked a few times, her eyes rolled back, and then her whole body crashed to the floor. The people in the supermarket were like startled birds, repeatedly backing away in fright at the scene. And two female cashiers in particular seemed as if their spines had been pulled out, collapsing directly onto the floor as they cried out in shock. More, murder. Chen-Na did not avert her gaze, standing like a statue. Looking coldly at the frightened crowd, she raised her hand, and a fireball shot like a meteor straight at Xiaoya's corpse. And the corpse instantly burst into flames, like dry firewood being lit. With no grudge from the past and no enmity in the present, yet hurling vicious insults upon first meeting, she truly deserved to die. Under Chen-Na's gaze, sharp as icy arrows, the people in the supermarket were already so terrified that they dared not make a sound. Then, seeing the bizarre scene of her conjuring a fireball out of thin air, everyone stood there as if struck by a paralysis spell, not daring to move an inch, their legs trembling nonstop. Seeing his lover killed, the supermarket owner Wang Defa felt the anger in his heart erupt like a volcano, but after seeing everything that had just happened, and then thinking of the zombie corpses lying all over outside, he knew that the two people before him were like evil ghosts from hell, bizarre beyond belief, and definitely not people he could deal with. So he forcibly suppressed his anger and walked over to Ding Dali and Chun Na like a lapdog, his face full of fawning flattery as he said ingratiatingly, "That woman didn't know her place. I had long since found her an eyesore. Good riddance. For offending this lady, she got exactly what she deserved. It's just that I don't know what business you two have coming to my little supermarket. We're collecting supplies. If you've got nothing else, stay out of the way." Ding Dali looked impatiently at the hypocritical middle-aged man before him. Hearing this, the displeasure on Wang Defa's face vanished in an instant, and he still looked at the man speaking opposite him with a beaming smile, like the laughing Buddha. "The supermarket is small, and there aren't many supplies. Take whatever catches your eye. I'll take my employees back to my office first, so we won't disturb you." After saying that, he bent and backed away a few steps like a humble servant, then waved to signal the employees to follow him. None of the employees dared raise their heads. Each of them looked like frostbitten eggplants, keeping their heads down as they followed behind the boss and went together into a room with a security door in the corner of the supermarket. Chapter 21. The Bitten Woman. Seeing that everyone in the supermarket followed the boss, they filed into that so-called office one after another, as if afraid of being late. Ding Dali sneered and ignored them, leisurely strolling around the supermarket, only then to discover in surprise that most of the shelves were stocked with daily necessities. The shelves that had held food and water had been completely looted, with basically nothing left. What remained were only a few scattered bags of puffed snacks on the floor. Looking at those completely empty shelves, Chun Na asked suspiciously, "Has this supermarket not had time to restock yet? Why are so many shelves empty? Humph. How could it just so happen that only the food and water shelves were sold out? Do you really think the supermarket owner is that kind-hearted to just let us take whatever we want? There must be something shady going on that we don't know about. Let's look around some more." The two had just taken a few steps along the shelves when two coughing sounds suddenly rang out in the quiet supermarket. The sounds were extremely faint, yet in the stillness of the supermarket, they were clearly audible. "Be careful. Someone's there." Ding Dali lowered his voice and gave a grave warning, then shot toward the source of the sound like an arrow released from the bow. The sound had come from a partitioned glass room next to the supermarket entrance. Ding Dali used to come to this supermarket often, and on both sides of the entrance. One side sold snacks, with pancakes, grilled sausages, candied hawthorn, and more on dazzling display, while the other side was a partitioned glass room filled with children's coin-operated rides, claw machines, and other toys. Because he was familiar with the situation inside, when Ding Dali entered the supermarket with Chen Na, he had only casually glanced at the glass room and did not notice anyone inside. But when he followed the sound and ran over to look, there was a corpse lying on the floor of the glass room, torn to pieces by zombies. The corpse's head had rolled off to one side, and although its jaw was missing, its already zombified gray-white eyes were still moving back and forth. Not far from the corpse was a woman sitting on the floor, her body tied to a claw machine. A chunk of flesh was missing from her arm. There were very obvious bite marks on it, and the skin extending outward from the bite marks was gradually turning gray-white, while bluish veins spread out along the wound. Hearing footsteps, the woman slowly raised her head. Her pale face was covered in beads of sweat. Her tied ponytail was already disheveled, and many loose strands of hair clung to her face, with sweat dripping down along those loose strands. Her delicate, petite features paired with her weak appearance made her look exactly like a sick girl next door. Although she had that girl next door look, her figure was excellent, with alluring curves. Who knows what little darling tied those ropes, but they did it with remarkable skill. The right places stood out, the right places were lifted, and the ropes were tied just perfectly. Not a bit too much, not a bit too little. However, no matter how stunning her figure was, he didn't take a few extra looks. It wasn't that Ding Dali wasn't interested, but because the moment he saw this face, his heart surged like raging waves, impossible to calm. That was because this face had left far too deep an imprint in the depths of his memory. One had to know that in the apocalypse before Ding Dali was reborn, renowned forces and teams were as numerous as stars. And there were also quite a few famous individuals, but all of them belonged to some force or group. Truly famous lone wolves, however, were exceedingly rare because in that brutal apocalypse, for a person alone to survive was simply harder than ascending to heaven. And yet, there was such a lone wolf who not only lived freely and carefree, but whose strength was even more unfathomable. Even before Ding Dali passed away, this person was still renowned. No one knew exactly what ability she had awakened. It was only known that she could, like a ghost, silently and unnoticeably eliminate anyone who stood against her. Her rise to fame came when the leaders of 3 powerful survivor groups offended her. Within a single night, those 3 leaders mysteriously died in their rooms, beheaded, and even their capable subordinates were all killed without exception. In one night, the main forces of the 3 bases were wiped out. In the apocalypse, this was no different from directly destroying the 3 bases. From then on, she became famous overnight, and no one dared to provoke her lightly again. Such a person, elusive and ruthless in action, nevertheless had a face like a girl next door, and also a poetic name, Yi Zhiqiu. In his previous life, Ding Dali had exchanged goods with Yi Zhiqiu several times through barter, a common form of trade among the strong in the apocalypse. Precisely because of this, Ding Dali had an indelible, deep impression of Yi Zhiqiu. He never expected that at the very start of the apocalypse, Yi Zhiqiu would actually be right near his home. Just as Ding Dali was immersed in memories of Yi Zhiqiu, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. Ding. Suitable target detected. Big brother. Hurry and make your move. Huh. Detect the other party's information. Name. Yi Zhiqiu score. 90 human female strength. For speed. 9 stamina. 5 mental. 5 ability. Yet to awaken, he didn't expect Yi Zhiqiu's basic physical condition to be this high. Especially her speed attribute was already almost at the level of an awakened. Looking at her data, Ding Dali couldn't help but praise her. Ding. Warning. The target is turning into a corpse. If Big Brother doesn't want to get the title, Zombie Knight, then act quickly. That's not right. Yi Zhiqiu is about to turn into a zombie, but why did she become an awakened in the previous life? Ding Dali glanced at the zombified head on the ground, and everything suddenly became clear to him. In his previous life, something must have happened that caused this zombified head to shatter, revealing the core inside. And as soon as Yi Zhiqiu saw the core, she would definitely be unable to resist swallowing it. As long as she swallowed the core, she could offset the zombification and become an awakened. I saw you make a move. Help me. Help me kill that group of people. The supplies you want, I can give you a truckload. Yi Zhiqiu was extremely weak, but when she mentioned killing that group of people, she still gritted her teeth in fury. Oh, you want me to help you kill that group of people? A truckload of supplies isn't enough. How can you help me? As long as you help me kill them, I'll do anything. It's simple. Be my woman. Then I'll help you. Hearing him say that, Yi Zhiqiu let out a helpless sneer. Humph. I can feel that I'm about to turn into one of those man-eating things too. Others would avoid me as fast as they could. And you want me to be your woman? You don't mind that I'm a zombie? Never mind what you are. Just say whether you'll do it or not. Ding Dali was also a little anxious, thinking, damn it, just say yes already, so I can feed you the core. Otherwise, if you really turn into a zombie, things will be screwed. But when Yi Zhiqiu heard this, she mistakenly thought he was saying he didn't mind her, and a trace of emotion actually rose in her heart, so she nodded. Help me kill them. I'll be your woman. No problem deal. Don't worry. As long as you become mine, I won't let you turn into a zombie. And I can even let you kill that group of people yourself. Hearing that she wouldn't have to turn into a zombie and could even take revenge by her own hands, a glimmer of light instantly appeared in Yijichio's eyes. And without even thinking, she nodded heavily again. Good. Deal. Hearing this, Ding Dali was overjoyed. Getting such a powerful woman and teammate would be hard not to be excited about. As for whether she would renege afterward, based on Ding Dali's understanding of her from his previous life, this woman kept her promises very well and should not go back on her word. Even if she went back on her word, Ding Dali could still make her obedient. Hurry. I feel like I'm about to collapse. Yijichio suddenly coughed up blood from her nose and mouth and let out a pained cry. Damn, this is bad. Ding Dali didn't hesitate. He stomped on the head on the ground beside him, crushing it, took out the crystal core, and stuffed it directly into Yijichio's mouth, then said in a low voice, "Don't worry about anything else. Feel the energy flowing through your whole body. It'll hurt a bit, but you must hold on. As long as you become a primary awakened, you can be immune to the bites of low-tier zombies. Similarly, a first-tier awakened can be immune to the bites of first-tier zombies." Hearing Ding Dali's words, Yijichio gritted her teeth and endured the pain brought by the evolution, not making a single sound. After the crystal core was fully digested, Yijichio successfully evolved, but the zombification did not stop. It only slowed down a lot. It seems one crystal core's energy isn't enough. Ding Dali flipped his hand and pulled a handful of low-level crystal cores from his space, stuffing them one by one into Yijichio's mouth. He stopped only when she showed a pained expression again. This evolution process was very quick. Yijichio didn't suffer for long. Her originally pale face gained color, and her listless spirit instantly became lively and full of energy. Feeling her body brimming with power, Yijichio struggled forcefully, and the rope binding her snapped instantly. Chapter 22 The Uncanny Ghost. Yijichio scanned the other party's data. Name, Yijichio score, 92 human female primary awakened strength, 50 speed, 65 stamina, 50 mental, 55 ability. Invisibility, A+ invisibility ability? No wonder no one in the previous life ever saw her use her ability. An invisibility ability combined with attributes comparable to a speed awakened really could kill without a trace. Although this invisibility ability is rated only A+, paired with sufficient speed, it becomes a bit overpowered. Score 92 points. After becoming an awakened, her score has gone up too. System. Why does Chinna's data no longer have a score now? Bro, already conquered ones do not get scored. Fuck, cold-blooded. Thank you for saving me. My name is Yijichio. Don't worry, once I kill that group of bastards, I'll do what I promised you. Yijichio's words interrupted Ding Dali's communication with the system. He calmly took a large bucket of bottled water collected from the farmer's market out of his space and put it on the ground. Don't rush to kill anyone. Just wash up a bit first, then get familiar with your strength and invisibility ability, and we'll go find you a set of clothes to change into. After saying that, he pulled Chinna out of the partition. Only Yijichio was left staring blankly in place, her heart in turmoil. How does he know I can turn invisible? I only had a feeling that I could become invisible. And how did he make a bucket of water appear out of nowhere just now? Is that also an awakened ability? Who exactly is he? How does he know so much? Ding Dali and Chinna didn't know about Yijichio's shock. The two of them came to a corner of the supermarket. This area was where underwear and pajamas were sold. The whole supermarket probably only had clothes to find here. As Ding Dali rummaged, he occasionally glanced at Chinna. You have to know, just now I said in front of her that I wanted someone else to be my woman. Seeing her look like she wanted to say something but held back, Ding Dali asked, "What is it? If you have something to say, just say it. This Yijichio is also your woman from your previous life?" "Not really." "Then why did you say you wanted her to be your woman?" There was a faint hint of displeasure in Chinna's tone. Although Yijichio wasn't my woman in my previous life, she was an extremely powerful lone wolf. Anyone who offended her died without a sound. Do you know what people in the previous life used to call her? Chinna shook her head, and Ding Dali continued. The ghost of impermanence, Yijichio, takes lives silently, just like the black and white impermanence. That shows how strong she is. A strong person like her must be brought over to our side. Only by making her my woman can I ensure she never betrays me. Why does becoming your woman mean she won't betray you? Ding Dali slapped Chinna on the butt and said lewdly, "Why do you think?" As soon as she heard this, Chinna's face turned bright red in an instant. She only felt her legs trembling and couldn't stand steady, so she angrily pinched Ding Dali's waist. "You're just a living beast. Anyway, I already know you have other women. One more doesn't matter, and she's a capable sister too. But let's be clear. No matter how many there are in the future, I'll always be the boss. Then you have to be the main wife. If anyone else doesn't behave, you deal with them. No need to save face for me seeing Ding Dali's shameless dead pig not afraid of boiling water attitude. Chen Na inexplicably wanted to beat him up, but she simply couldn't beat him, not during the day, not at night either. She could only admit defeat and chose an outfit of lingerie before handing it to Ding Dali. Here, Yi Zhiqiu should be fine in this outfit. Find her a set of pajamas to wear over it and make do for now. Ding Dali was slightly stunned. He took the lingerie, opened it to look, then flattered her, saying, "Main wife really is amazing. You can tell your sister's size at a glance. Stop being so shameless here. I'm asking you, before you were reborn, who was stronger, Yi Zhiqiu or you?" Ding Dali found another set of pajamas and put them together with the underwear into a bag. Then he thought about it and said, Actually, in my last life I knew Yi Zhiqiu, though we weren't that familiar. But by my estimate, back then I probably wasn't her match." "Oh, she was that amazing? Then could she have subdued you?" Don't worry. In this life, with my strength, I'm definitely a bit stronger than her." Chen Na took 2 seconds to process that, and her face instantly turned red. Then she angrily pinched Ding Dali again. When the two returned with the clothes to the partitioned area, Yi Zhiqiu had already finished washing up and was getting used to her invisibility ability. They saw a naked woman with a ponytail suddenly disappear, then suddenly appear in another corner. Ding Dali was completely hooked by the scene and couldn't stop exclaiming how awesome it was. Chen Na glanced over and mocked with a weird smile. "Yo, honey, are you turning into a corpse? Why are you bleeding from the nose? What the hell do you mean turning into a corpse? Don't talk nonsense. I'm overheated." Overheated. Hearing voices, Yi Zhiqiu nervously covered her private parts with both hands and looked back. Seeing that it was the 2 people who had saved her, she finally relaxed. But she still looked a little embarrassed at the 2 of them. Ding Dali was quick on the uptake and hurriedly handed the bag with the clothes to her. "There are only these clothes in the supermarket, so just make do." Yi Zhiqiu took the bag and, not being shy at all, put the clothes on directly. Since she wasn't shy, the faintly visible beauty made Ding Dali keep swallowing his saliva. He coughed twice and changed the subject. "Ahem, my name is Ding Dali, and this is my main wife, Chen Na. Can you tell us what grudge you have against the people in the supermarket? Why must you kill them?" Yi Zhiqiu was fully dressed. As they say, if someone is young with a good foundation, even wearing pajamas they still look youthful, bright, and energetic. She awkwardly nodded at Chen Na. She really couldn't understand how this man named Ding Dali had the nerve to ask her to be his woman in front of his wife, just now. Seeing that the other man's wife didn't seem to resist either, he finally let out a sigh of relief. The broken-up corpse on the ground had already been tidied up by Yi Zhiqiu and placed in the corner. When Ding Dali asked about the supermarket, Yi Zhiqiu looked forlornly at the corpse in the corner, tears welling in her eyes. "That is my father's body. We were originally delivering goods to this supermarket last night, but after a small accident we got trapped here. Every time we came to deliver goods, my father and I each drove a light truck. One truck full of rice, flour, grain and oil, vegetables and fruit, and the other full of all kinds of ready-to-eat food. When we arrived last night, the supermarket employees were all there. As usual, so many people could unload the goods in less than an hour. But after we had unloaded half a truck of ready-to-eat food, the supermarket owner Wang Defa handed me a bottle of water and said a few words. His mistress saw it and started arguing with him." Yi Zhiqiu pointed to the pile of human-shaped charcoal at the supermarket entrance. "It was that woman you killed. She kept fighting with Wang Defa and cursing non-stop. Cursing Wang Defa was one thing, but she also accused me of seducing Wang Defa. She even wanted to come over and pull my hair. If my father hadn't stood in her way, she would have hit me long ago. It went on like that for a long time. The people in the supermarket were either trying to break it up or watching the spectacle, and no one was unloading the goods at all. Thinking about it now, it was lucky it was late and there was no one on the road. Otherwise, if those vicious curses had attracted a crowd of onlookers, and then they turned into zombies, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Because of Wang Defa's mistress making a scene, time was wasted until deep into the night, when an extremely bizarre dense fog suddenly descended. At first, everyone was curious, but after only a few seconds they saw the fog was so thick it was like liquid falling from the sky. Very unusual. And that was when they stopped arguing, hid in the supermarket, and shut the door. Hearing this, Ding Dali took the chance to ask, "The 2 light trucks outside the supermarket are yours?" "Yes." One was full of rice, flour, grain and oil, as well as boxes upon boxes of fruit and vegetables. The ready-to-eat food in the other truck was only half a truck left. The rest had all been moved into the supermarket. I heard Wang Defa say you could take whatever supplies you wanted. Don't listen to his nonsense. He was just putting on fake politeness. Anything that could be eaten or drunk had long been moved by him into the warehouse in the corner of the supermarket. That was the so-called office he mentioned. What was left behind were just some daily necessities. Chapter 23, Yi Zhiqiu's Experience Pa. There really was something fishy here. I was just saying, how could the edible things in the supermarket all be emptied out like a swarm of locusts had passed through? This Wang Defa is indeed full of lies. I should have roasted him just now. Chen Na spat in displeasure, while a ball of flame rose in her hand. Yi Zhiqiu looked at the flame in Chen Na's hand, froze for a moment, then nodded very approvingly and let out a cold laugh, grinding her teeth as she said, "Humph. This Wang Defa is not just a liar full of nonsense. He's also a treacherous viper, hiding a knife in his smile." He took a deep breath, as if to exhale the anger in his heart along with it, and then continued slowly. After we retreated into the supermarket, everyone stood by the glass door. None of us had ever seen anything like that, so one by one we stared stupidly at the dense fog outside, marveling at it. No one noticed that 3 employees were bleeding from their noses, until they transformed like demons possessed into man-eating zombies, baring their teeth and claws as they pounced on Wang Defa, standing not far from them. Luckily, my father reacted quickly and knocked Wang Defa away in one move, which saved his life from the hands of the Grim Reaper. Thinking about it now, if father hadn't saved him, how great that would have been. No one had ever heard of or seen such a thing before. A living person suddenly turning into a ferocious, hideous monster. Frightened, everyone scattered through the supermarket like headless flies. Relying on the shelves as cover, we dodged the zombies' attacks. In the end, everyone took refuge together in the storeroom in a corner of the supermarket. After a night passed, the zombies that had been lingering at the door slowly wandered off. But after a night of chaos, everyone was so hungry their stomachs were touching their backs. Yet there was only rice and flour in the storeroom, and no water either. We couldn't just chew on dry rice and flour. On top of that, through our phones we learned the outside world was the same, and waiting for rescue could take who knew how long. But hunger was real and immediate. So someone suggested sending 2 people out to bring back some food and water, but there were still 3 zombies outside. Who would dare go out? At that moment, Wang Defa's mistress caused trouble again. She pointed at me and my father and said, "These 2 aren't from our supermarket. I think they should be the ones to go out and get food." Her words drew support from quite a few people. Of course I didn't agree. Why should we have to go face the zombies for them? At that moment, Wang Defa walked up to my dad with a smile, calling him Brother Yi one after another, and repeatedly said that he had no choice and could only wrong us by having us go out to get food. My father looked through the peephole and saw the zombies weren't around the door. Thinking that if we just went out to get some food and came back in, there shouldn't be any problem, so he agreed to them. But when we went out to get food, we didn't know. The people in the supermarket were discussing inside how to get us to deal with the zombies. My father and I quickly grabbed some food and water and returned, but what 2 people could carry was very limited, and 10 people finished it all in no time. At that moment, I saw Wang Defa exchange a glance with his mistress. Then the mistress stood up again and said this wouldn't work. The zombies outside had to be dealt with before everyone could be safe. So she suggested sending 2 people to draw the zombies' attention away, and then the others would attack from behind and wipe them out. That way it would solve the problem once and for all. How could I not see that she wanted us to go out and lure the zombies away? So I said straight out that we had already gone out once and wouldn't go again. Hearing what I said, Wang Defa's mistress cursed as she came over to grab my hair, but Wang Defa stopped her, still wearing that warm, beaming smile. He said that my father and I had already gone out once, and they couldn't let us go out and take risks again. To be fair, why not have everyone vote on who should go out to draw the zombies away? Having said that, Yi Zhiqiu's gaze turned cold as he looked toward the storeroom and continued telling the story. He called it fair, but they were clearly in the same camp and had long ago agreed to vote for me and my father. And the result was just as expected. Everyone except me and my father voted for the 2 of us. I couldn't swallow it and wanted to argue with them, but my father saw they outnumbered us and was afraid I'd be at a disadvantage. So he stopped me and said it was only to draw the zombies' attention. As long as they struck from behind in time, there shouldn't be any problem. But my father still overestimated their humanity. After we came out, we saw a zombie in the milk promotion area. My father signaled for me to wait there while he went to lure it away. Everything went very smoothly. The zombie was drawn by my father and kept circling in place. and then my father waved to signal the others to hurry over and ambush it from behind. However, everyone stood at the doorway watching from the sidelines, and not a single person made a move. Seeing that none of them would act, I grew anxious, grabbed the fire extinguisher on the wall, and smashed the zombie down with one blow. After falling, the zombie rolled over and stood up again. Seeing this, my father came over to help, but no matter how many times we knocked it down, it could stand back up again. At that point, I remembered that in movies, zombies' weakness is always their heads, so I lifted the fire extinguisher and smashed it into the zombie's head. I kept hitting it many times before the zombie finally stopped twitching. This zombie was finally taken down, but the sound of the fight drew the other two zombies over, and after fighting that one zombie, I had used up a lot of strength. I was panting hard. I didn't notice the zombie lunging at me from behind. Just as it was about to bite my neck, my father stretched out his arm to block the zombie's bite. But his arm was bitten by the zombie in one gulp, and the two of them fell to the ground struggling to break free. Then another zombie pounced on them as well. Just like that, my father was torn apart beyond recognition in front of me, and during the fight with the zombies I was bitten on the arm too. In the end, I knocked the zombies down, and my father too. But no matter how I cried for help, those beasts only came out of the warehouse door and stood behind the shelves watching, just watching. Only then did I realize they had no intention of helping at all. Seeing that the zombies were all dead, Wang Defa had everyone move all the food and drink they could into the warehouse, just in case. While they were moving things, the severed head bitten off from my father also turned into a zombie. They guessed that anyone bitten would become a zombie, so they tied me up in here. The one who tied me up was Wang Defa. I asked him why he still wanted to harm my father when my father had saved him, and Wang Defa shamelessly said it was better for his own people to die than outsiders. He also said it would have been better if I hadn't been bitten, and that I could have had my fun before talking about anything else. The one who tied you up was Wang Defa? That old fox is very skilled at this. Huh, what do you mean skilled? Ah, nothing. Yi Zhiqiu recounted everything that happened in this supermarket to Ding Dali and Chen Na, word for word. At the same time, Wang Defa and the others hiding in the warehouse were not idle either. Boss, are we really just going to let those two kill people and then rob things? The speaker was wearing the supermarket uniform and was one of the store sales clerks. Wang Defa sat among the crowd, no longer wearing his usual smiling expression, and said with a sullen face, "Humph, that bitch causes me trouble every day? Even if she died, so be it. But she killed my people right in front of me. Truly hateful. It's just that those two may not be easy to deal with." Right. Boss, I saw that woman summon fireballs out of thin air. So eerie. Humph. We have that kind of ability too. After saying that, a bottle of mineral water not far away flew up into the air, flew around in front of everyone, then landed steadily on the ground. Seeing this, everyone looked at Wang Defa in disbelief. Wang Defa swept his gaze over the crowd, then took out two transparent crystals from his pocket. As soon as everyone saw them, they subconsciously swallowed, their hearts filled with the desire to swallow them whole. If Ding Dali had been there, he would have recognized at a glance that this was an elementary energy core. After I tied up that little girl Yi Zhiqiu, I originally wanted to find a kitchen knife and get rid of her, so she wouldn't turn into a zombie and cause us trouble. When passing by the three zombie corpses whose heads had been smashed by the father and son, I saw one of these crystals in a pile of rotten flesh, and then found two more in the other two corpses. After washing it clean with water, I couldn't control my urge to swallow it at all, so I went to the bathroom and ate one. But after swallowing it, my whole body suddenly hurt so badly that I fainted on the spot. Not long after, I woke up and found that my physical condition had improved a lot, and I even had superpowers. I guess that zombies must have this thing in their brains, and that this thing could make people evolve. So I decided to stop trying to kill Yi Zhiqiu. I'll wait until she turns into a zombie. Then I can get another one of these things. In the end, before I even made a move, those two rushed in. Chapter 24 Supermarket Horror. Wang Defa looked around with a dark expression and continued. That woman is ruthless when she makes a move. She kills without even blinking and can conjure raging flames out of thin air. I think she probably ate this thing too. And as for the man by her side, I can vaguely sense that his strength is unfathomable. Even as someone with abilities, I'm afraid it'll be hard for me alone to stand against them. So I've decided to pick two of you to eat this thing too. As long as we have more awakened people on our side than they do, we can definitely defeat them. When the others in the supermarket heard the boss say this, each of them felt waves of excitement surging in their hearts like a stormy sea. A chance to gain superpowers. That was something ordinary people could only dream of. What's more, The two crystal cores before their eyes were like two enchanted gems, making it hard for them to resist the urge to snatch them up and swallow them. But after seeing the boss's bizarre ability just now, no one dared act rashly. Very satisfied with everyone's reaction, Wang Defa pointed at two employees who were usually more good at currying favor, like a general directing his soldiers. Li Xiaoqiang, Zhang Shuai, if I give this opportunity to you too, can you help me guard the supermarket? The two men whose names were called were so excited they were like two monkeys given bananas, jumping to their feet on the spot and repeatedly promising absolute loyalty to the boss and to the supermarket. Wang Defa didn't hesitate either, decisively giving the two crystal cores to them, one each, and having them swallow them, while not forgetting to comfort the others. Everyone, don't worry. As long as we drive those two away, with our abilities, we can kill more zombies and get more of these crystal cores, so that everyone can have abilities. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed, as if they could already see themselves awakening superpowers. Li Xiaoqiang and Zhang Shuai also quickly completed their evolution and became awakened ones. It's just that neither of them awakened a special ability. One became astonishingly strong, while the other became as fast as an arrow loosed from the bow. This is also one direction most awakened ones evolve in, with one or two attributes becoming especially outstanding. Not all awakened ones can awaken special abilities. Of course, Wang Defa didn't know this. He thought Li Xiaoqiang becoming so strong and Zhang Shuai becoming so fast were both special abilities. This made Wang Defa's confidence instantly swell, as if he had already become the ruler of the apocalyptic world. Feeling the tremendous power hidden in his muscles, Li Xiaoqiang excitedly lifted several bags of rice with one hand with ease, then set them down. Boss, I feel like I've got endless strength now. When do we make our move? I'll definitely smash them to death with one punch. Zhang Shuai also quickly lifted his legs a few times in place. Boss, you won't even need to act. Xiaoqiang and I can each deal with one of them, and that'll be enough. Wang Defa was extremely happy and had already started making plans in his heart. Since it's already the end of the world anyway, he might as well beat that man to death and keep the woman for himself. Huh? That woman looks way better than that bitch Xiaoya. She'll definitely be more exciting to play with. Just as Wang Defa was scheming and fantasizing, a female cashier interrupted him. Does anyone hear a rustling sound? It really does sound like rustling. Wang Defa listened carefully too, and he recognized the sound. There was a rat hole in this warehouse, and rats often came and went, making exactly this kind of noise. But he remembered sealing that rat hole with cement. Ah, quick look. What a huge rat. The female cashier screamed, then pointed at the very top of that pile of supplies while backing away nonstop. The others all saw the rat too, and couldn't help but gasp, because the rat was simply enormous. It was even bigger than an ordinary house cat. Its two rat eyes were hollow grayish-white. Its gray-black fur stood on end strand by strand. It looks exactly like an angry stray dog. Don't be afraid, everyone. It's just a big rat. Killing it will be easy. Li Xiaoqiang stepped forward to calm everyone down. But as soon as he finished speaking, other rats began pouring out from behind the big rat like a spring. 1, 2, 3, 4. One after another, countless. Until the first rat shot toward the crowd like an arrow from a bow, more new rats kept emerging in an endless stream behind it. The first rat lunged straight at the crowd, and the one in the front line was Li Xiaoqiang. Li Xiaoqiang was not all that panicked. Confident of victory, he raised his fist and was about to strike hard. However, the rat's speed far exceeded his expectations. Before the fist could even reach the rat had already latched onto his neck like lightning. It bit down on a chunk of flesh and yanked hard. In an instant, a bloody hole appeared in his neck. Blood gushed out of his body like a breach in a dam. Before the others could even react, the rats that followed surged into the crowd like a tide, and in an instant everything descended into chaos. After Yi Zhiqiu told Ding Dali and Chun Na about what she had experienced at the supermarket, since they had already treated each other as one of their own, the two immediately decided to help her get revenge. Just as the three were about to act, they heard bursts of shrill screams and desperate cries for help coming from the warehouse. Not knowing what had happened, the three sprinted toward the warehouse door with all speed. Just as they had run halfway there, the warehouse door was slammed open from the inside with a bang, and then three badly injured, panicked people ran out. A pack of rats as big as cats followed closely behind, like hungry tigers pouncing on prey. The moment Ding Dali saw those rats, he recognized what they were and could not help but be shocked. Damn it! Zombie beasts. Prepare for battle. System, scan the data. Rat Zombie Beast First Tier Strength, 100 Speed, 110 Stamina, 100 Spirit, 100 Ding Dolly then hurriedly scanned many rats, and without exception, they were all first tier. And this was only the first day. The evolutionary path of animals is just like that of humans. Some become zombie beasts, while others evolve into mutant beasts. Being bitten by a mutant beast will not cause zombification, but if you are bitten by a zombie beast, then you're in for it. You will definitely turn into a zombie. And the only difference between animal evolution and human evolution is that, whether mutant beasts or zombie beasts, as long as they eat, they can evolve, no matter what flesh it is. Humans who consume mutant beasts can grow stronger if they eat zombie beasts. People will turn into zombies, and eating their own kind will turn them into other kinds of aberrations. The roughly estimated nearly 100 first-tier rat zombie beasts in front of them. Just how much flesh and how many of their own kind had they devoured to evolve so quickly? Damn it. No wonder there used to be rat droppings in the bulk rice bought from this supermarket. How many rats must have settled here? They're nesting here, damn it. Ding Dolly cursed Wang Defa's ancestors for 8 generations in his heart. Jiqiao, hurry and conceal your presence. Hide behind us. Wait for the right moment before moving. Be very careful not to get bitten. Xiao Na, don't let your guard down. Go all out. These are all first-tier zombie beasts. You must make sure to kill them with one strike. Absolutely do not let them surround us. The zombie beasts that burst out also noticed the 3 living bodies of flesh and blood over here. And they also sensed that the energy within these 3 people was even more abundant. So like hungry rats pouncing on food, they swarmed toward them. Although they are all first tier, the difference in strength is huge. As long as they aren't surrounded, there won't be much of a problem. Ding Dolly stared fixedly at the zombie beasts, and when they were about to rush up to him, he circulated the energy in his body at full force, and streaks of lightning instantly surged up within him, intertwining in the air into an impenetrable electric net. He waved his hand, and the electric net instantly enveloped the pack of zombie beasts. Immediately after, crackling sounds rang out in succession, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of scorched flesh. All the zombie beasts were lying stiffly on the ground, their bodies charred black and still giving off wisps of heat. Husband, didn't you say to be careful? You didn't even give us a chance to make a move. Chen Na put away the fireball in her hand and said in surprise, don't let your guard down. They're not dead yet. With my current strength, I can achieve a one-hit kill in one-on-one combat. With such a huge group, my move just now only kept them from moving for the time being. Let's take advantage of their weakness and finish them off quickly. Don't give them a chance to catch their breath. After saying that, Ding Dolly struck first, attacking with both hands, one holding a heating pipe, the other a big supermarket cleaver. He smashed their heads one after another like playing whack-a-mole. After only a few hits, the heating pipe was fine, but the supermarket cleaver snapped in two. Damn, what crappy quality. Ding Dolly cursed Wang Defa's ancestors for 800 generations in his heart again. He tossed away the broken cleaver, but his movements didn't stop. Using both hands and feet, he kept playing whack-a-mole. Chapter 25 A Great Harvest. Ding Dolly and Chen Na's attribute values were much higher than those of these first-tier rat zombie beasts. Ding Dolly was basically at the late first tier, Chen Na at the middle first tier, while the zombie beasts were only at the early first tier. The difference in stats between them was like an unbridgeable chasm, enough to give the two of them an absolute advantage. At this moment, the zombie beasts were like statues pinned in place, unable to move, and the two of them were reaping the zombie beasts' lives at lightning speed. As for Yi Jiqiao, although she couldn't achieve one-hit kills like Ding Dolly and the others, if she smashed them a few more times, she could still send the zombie beasts to their deaths. Soon, all the zombie beasts were dealt with by the 3 of them. The last few zombie beasts struggled on like trapped beasts, fighting to get up and resist, but before Ding Dolly, they were nothing more than an ant trying to stop a chariot. In an instant, Ding Dolly's space had 107 more first-tier energy crystals. What an astonishing fortune this was. You have to know that a first-tier awakened one with the most ordinary aptitude only needed to consume 10 first-tier crystals to evolve. Someone with slightly better aptitude might evolve after a dozen or so. In his previous life, Ding Dolly had never heard of anyone being able to consume more than 20. These first-tier crystals now were enough to let several people evolve to the second tier. For people who had only just stepped into the apocalypse, this was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying thing. You have to know that on the first day in his previous life, most people were too afraid to hide at home, not daring to step out of their homes, even half a step, and only a few people had the courage to kill zombies. As for the more advanced creatures, only the official heavy firepower could kill them. It seems there were far more things in my previous life that I didn't know than I imagined. So on the first day of the apocalypse, there were actually so many first-tier zombie beasts near me. No wonder the impermanent ghost Yijichio was so formidable in my previous life. Most likely, because of the turmoil caused by these zombie beasts, she accidentally consumed a crystal and then, relying on her invisibility ability, slowly ground the zombie beasts to death like a ghost. It's just that I don't know how she managed to stay invisible for such a long time back then, or whether her invisibility ability could also hide her scent and the like. Ding Dali had not experienced these things in his past life, so he could only guess from thin air. But these zombie beast corpses before him could not be wasted. If he swallowed them all, it would be enough for Ding Dali to reach tier 2. In other people's eyes, these were all trash, but to him, they were all good things. Ding Dali's eyes lit up, and he grabbed a few to swallow. Just then, a black shadow flashed past the edge of Ding Dali's vision. Instinctively, he sidestepped just in time. The black shadow pounced on nothing, landing on all fours and letting out a harsh squeaking sound. Only then did Ding Dali see clearly that it was a rat zombie beast slightly larger in size. Rat zombie beast tier 1. Power, 170 speed, 160 stamina, 170 spirit, 150. Checking the data of the zombie beast before him, Ding Dali was shocked. Damn it, there's another one. Is this the rat boss? Seeing Ding Dali being ambushed, Chen Na grabbed a heating pipe and was about to rush forward to attack. Ding Dali reached out a hand to stop her and said in a low voice, "This zombie beast is different from the others. You're no match for it. Leave it to me." After landing, the mutated rat beast circled in place a few times, letting out squeaking roars from its mouth, as grating as metal scraping against metal. The rat's claws dug hard at the ground several times, and each time they scraped the cement floor, several deep claw marks were left. On the last dig, at the same moment, the rat leaped into the air and once again lunged at Ding Dali at extreme speed. Ding Dali raised the heating pipe, aimed at the right moment, and smashed down fiercely. The zombie rat beast that had pounced through the air was sent flying like a baseball, knocking over a row of shelves. The rat was not badly hurt and jumped out from between the shelves at once, screeching a few times before charging again. The rat's strength and speed were about the same as Ding Dali's, and man and rat were evenly matched in a fierce struggle. It was just that the rat was smaller and more agile than a human, and on several occasions it slipped through gaps. Ding Dali's clothes were torn into strips by it, and he had wounds all over his body. If not for the fact that they were both tier 1, he would probably have turned into a zombie by now. Compared with Ding Dali, the zombie rat was in even worse shape, having taken who knows how many heavy blows. Although there were no obvious injuries on the surface, the internal damage had already left it somewhat unsteady on its feet. What's more, when Ding Dali attacked, he wrapped a layer of lightning around the heating pipe, and while delivering heavy blows, lightning continuously drilled into its body, causing damage to it. The zombie beast kept spitting filthy blood from the corner of its mouth, shaking the fur on its body. Out of animal instinct, even the zombie beast sensed danger. It turned tail and fled, running toward the warehouse. "You've got me looking like a beggar, and now you want to run? Not a chance." Ding Dali shouted and sent out a bolt of lightning, which struck the rat's rear end dead on. The zombie rat howled and staggered. Seizing the opportunity, Ding Dali moved rapidly to the side of the zombie rat and smashed hard at its head. He kept pounding it for who knew how many blows, until the zombie rat's head was turned into a mass of rotten flesh and was dead beyond any doubt before he stopped. Not knowing whether there were any fish that had slipped through the net, Ding Dali checked the warehouse carefully to be safe. Aside from the minced flesh and bits of bodies bitten to pieces all over the floor, there was no trace of any zombie beast left. It was just a pity about the food in the warehouse. Chen Na and Yi Zhiqiu rushed into the warehouse right behind him, and upon seeing the minced flesh and human tissue fragments all over the floor, Chen Na didn't mind it much. After all, she was from the criminal police squad and had seen plenty of disgusting scenes. But when Yi Zhiqiu saw the blood-red pool of blood and minced flesh filling the room, she couldn't help but lean against the wall and vomit. "Honey, the food is indeed here, but none of this can be eaten, right? It's all rotten meat and blood." Chen Na looked at the piled-up supplies with disgust. "Leave it for the others. These are useless to us anyway. But within 3 days, for many people, these things will be fought over to the death." Hearing this, Yi Zhiqiu wiped her mouth and forcefully suppressed the churning in her stomach. She covered her nose and mouth to keep herself from smelling the strong, bloody stench, then said with a heavy nasal tone. It's fine. There's still a truck and a half of supplies outside, and the car keys are with me. Ugh. After speaking, she squatted on the ground and vomited again. Ding Dali took a bottle of water from his spatial storage and handed it to Yi Zhiqiu, then slowly said, let's go out first. You also saw just now that 3 people ran out from here. One of them was Wang Defa. Although they've already been bitten by the zombie beasts and will sooner or later turn into zombies, a promise is a promise. Since I agreed to kill them for you, even if they turn into zombies, they still have to die again. Now that the zombie beasts have all been dealt with, it's their turn. The 3 of them came out of the warehouse, just in time to see 3 other people frantically rummaging through the corpses of those zombie beasts. They were Wang Defa, Zhang Shuai, and a female sales clerk who had escaped from the warehouse. Perhaps realizing someone was watching them, the 3 raised their heads and happened to meet the gazes of the 3 people over here. Wang Defa looked embarrassed, but quickly put on a smiling expression, bent his waist, and trotted over like a lapdog. The other 2 exchanged a glance and hurried over behind him. Hey little brother, it really has to be you, taking care of so many monsters all at once. We were just trying to see what those things were about. How could a mouse? Before he could finish speaking, Ding Dali's fist directly pierced through Wang Defa's head. I've had enough of your hypocritical act. After saying that, he pointed at the other 2 and continued, leave these 2 to you. They're going to turn into zombies sooner or later, so don't hold back. Kill them outright. Ding Dali shook the blood off his hand, then crouched down and wiped it on Wang Defa's corpse. Then he stared fervently at Wang Defa's body, smiling brightly. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect such an unexpected surprise. The reason he struck so quickly was because he had just scanned the 3 of them, and unexpectedly 2 were awakeners. What thrilled Ding Dali even more was that this bastard Wang Defa had actually awakened an S-rank ability, telekinetic object control. How is this even explained? If I don't snatch this, heaven won't allow it. Activated the devour ability, took telekinetic object control for himself, and at the same time, drained Wang Defa's corpse. Ding. Picked up plate-licking mastery. Learn it. Ding Dali was speechless. No wonder Wang Defa, fat-headed and bloated, could still hook up with a mistress. So he had a special skill? Chapter 26. Full advancement. Ding Dali used his mind to sense the plate-licking. No. The heating pipe in his hand, and it seemed to become part of his own will. Wherever his mind reached, the heating pipe could fly there. He repeated the experiment several times using items from the surrounding shelves, and finally concluded that at Ding Dali's current level, he could control objects under 100 gene and move them freely within a 10-meter radius. If he wanted to control heavier things over greater distances, he would need to keep leveling up. Just as Ding Dali was still immersed in the joy of gaining a new ability, Chen Na and Yi Zhiqiu had already returned after taking care of the other 2. Yi Zhiqiu frowned, seeming somewhat unhappy. Seeing this, Ding Dali asked with a grin, what's wrong, little beauty? Are you upset that I didn't let you kill Wang Defa yourself? Haha, believe me, killing him got me way more benefits than if you had killed him. After saying that, he pulled out a pile of basic crystals and 20 level 1 crystals and put them in front of Yi Zhiqiu. Take these, they're compensation for you, enough to get you to a 2nd tier awakened. Yi Zhiqiu knew how valuable these things were and gratefully nodded at Ding Dali. Ding Dali then took out another 21st tier crystals and handed them to Chen Na. Here, big wife, these are yours. Chen Na took the crystals and lightly punched Ding Dali. When we're doing that stuff on the bed, you call me Officer Chun. When you want me to do something, you call me Xiaona. But when it's time to split the spoils, you call me big wife again. Just how many names are you planning to give me? Oh, you don't get it. Calling you Officer Chun in bed is called atmosphere. Too bad. Why didn't you wear your police uniform when you were on duty? Ding Dali grinned lewdly. Seeing Chun Na raise her hand to hit him again, he then continued seriously. Calling you Xiaona when doing things is concise and doesn't make you feel distant. I'm being considerate. As for calling you big wife when distributing the spoils, that's because when handing out rewards, even if I give others more, it still reminds them not to forget who the boss is. Hearing Ding Dali's nonsense, Chen Na nodded in satisfaction. Yi Zhiqiu, who was standing nearby, heard this explanation and one sentence flashed through her mind. This guy is really shameless. Fine, let's absorb the crystals right here. Once we've all leveled up, we'll pack up the supplies and go home. After saying that, the 2 women were about to sit down and absorb the crystals. Ding Dali gently tugged at Chen Na and motioned for her to come over. After walking behind a few shelves, Chen Na didn't understand and asked in confusion, aren't we going to absorb the crystals? Why did you drag me here? Nothing, not. Which one? What are you even saying? I don't get it. I said nothing. Damn it. Everything I said got deleted. Figure it out yourself. Seeing Chun Na looking completely baffled, it seemed she really didn't understand. Ding Dali looked disappointed and kept muttering nonsense under his breath. Do you have some serious problem? What are you talking about? Ding Dali leaned in close to Chun Na's ear and described it in detail. The more Chun Na listened, the redder her ears became. By the end, she viciously pinched Ding Dali's waist. What the hell is in your head? We just finished fighting and you're already thinking about that stuff. I'm going to find Yi Zhiqiu and eat crystals to evolve first. We'll talk about the rest at night. After saying that, she left without looking back, leaving Ding Dali standing there alone, grinning stupidly. Both women went to absorb crystals and evolve. Ding Dali didn't sit idle either. After devouring all the first-tier zombie beasts into dried mouse-like strips, the energy in Ding Dali's body reached its limit, and he quickly broke through to the second tier. After devouring about another 21st-tier crystals, the system's energy also reached saturation, but it still didn't level up. Ding Dali didn't even need to ask to know that, with the system's habits, it probably wouldn't level up without some indulgence. Looks like I need to take down Yi Zhiqiu first. Thinking this, Ding Dali couldn't help letting his eyes roam over Yi Zhiqiu from head to toe. TSK, so nice. Yi Zhiqiu, who had already successfully evolved, suddenly felt as if she were being stared at by some fierce beast, and couldn't help shivering. Turning around, she just happened to see Ding Dali staring at her with a love-struck look. At once, goosebumps rose all over her body, and she couldn't help wondering. The man she chose, does he have something wrong with his brain? Why does he look so weird? Thinking that, he still walked expressionlessly to Ding Dali's side and handed him the remaining crystal cores. More than a dozen low-level crystal cores were left, and 4 first-tier crystal cores remained. Ding Dali coughed awkwardly twice, reached out, and took the crystal cores, and did not forget to take advantage of Yi Zhiqiu by touching her hand. Cough, cough. 16 first-tier crystal cores were consumed. Not bad. As expected, there's great potential. Keep the crystal cores for yourself and handle them as you wish. But for the next upgrade, you'll need second-tier crystal cores. First-tier crystal cores are now of very limited help to you. At this time, Chun Na also finished evolving. She stood up and teased. Honey, I've got 3 crystal cores left, so I won't give them to you. I'll give you candy tonight. System. Check bang bang ba. Check the 3 people's data. Name. Ding Dali second tier awakened 1 strength, 230 speed, 230 stamina, 240 mental, 250 abilities. Devour. Space A+, lightning S, telekinesis S name. Chun Na second tier awakened 1 strength, 205 speed, 210 stamina, 205 mental, 210 ability. Fire manipulation A. Name. Yi Zhiqiu rating. 91 second tier awakened 1. Female strength. 200 speed. 220 stamina. 200 mental. 210 ability. Invisibility A+. Seeing the data of the 3 people. It would be a lie to say Ding Dali wasn't excited in his heart. He had thought that reaching second tier would still require a long wait, but he never expected that this trip to the supermarket would not only bring him an expert from his past life, but also allow everyone to advance in rank, and more importantly, they even devoured a powerful ability. In his previous life, Ding Dali had been fully focused on rescuing Tang Bingbing and had no time at all to collect supplies. By the time he came to this supermarket to look for supplies, it was already completely empty. Who could have imagined that this small supermarket would hide so many treasures? If Wang Defa had not encountered either the zombie beast or Yi Zhiqiu, perhaps he might have survived. He might even have managed to survive the apocalypse with ease and become a local warlord. However, there are no ifs in this world. In the previous life, Wang Defa may still have had a glimmer of hope, but in this life, Wang Defa ran into a dead end, with no room left to choose. After the 3 of them took away all the usable daily supplies in the supermarket, Ding Dali also conveniently took away all the lollipops from the cashier counter. Or what did you think it was? Yi Zhiqiu, like performing magic, took out 2 truck keys, waved them in front of Ding Dali, reminding him not to forget there were still 2 vehicles of supplies. Ding Dali looked Yi Zhiqiu over in surprise, very puzzled in his heart. This woman was only wearing pajamas with no pockets, so where had she hidden the car keys? Stepping out of the supermarket, night had already fallen outside. Ding Dali decisively decided not to go to Sunflower for now, and to return to the residential area first. Seeing several zombies wandering around the trucks, Ding Dali signaled the 2 women to go over and kill them. He then opened the rear cargo boxes of the 2 light trucks to inspect the supplies. One truck's entire rear cargo box was filled with rice, flour, grain, and oil. There were also boxes upon boxes of fruit and vegetables. The other truck, on the other hand, was full of neatly stacked boxes of instant food, snacks, and so on. No need to be polite. He put all the supplies in the rear cargo boxes of the light trucks into his space, and naturally the two vehicles couldn't be wasted either. Ding Dali personally drove one vehicle in front to lead the way, while Yi Zhiqiu drove the other closely behind. They completely ignored the newly appearing zombies on the road, and simply rammed straight through any that blocked the way. After the zombies were knocked down, Yi Zhiqiu, who was behind them, directly drove over them. Doing these things with the weight of a truck was incredibly thrilling. Ding Dali had reaped a full haul today, and his suppressed joy could no longer be contained. He happily hummed a little tune, sang cheerful songs, and sped toward the residential area. Chapter 27. The system upgrades again. The security guard in the guard booth at the entrance saw two trucks driving over and was just about to lie on the window and call for help. But seeing that they had absolutely no intention of stopping, they rammed through the barrier at the entrance and drove straight in. The guard was so angry he stomped his feet, hiding in the guard booth and cursing nonstop. They parked the vehicles at the entrance to the building unit. After the three of them went inside, because of the filthy blood all over them from the fighting, plus the impurities produced by evolution, the three of them now smelled like they had just been pulled out of a swill bucket. They took turns showering and changed into fresh clothes. If Tang Bingbing hadn't usually liked buying clothes, leaving quite a few of her clothes in Ding Dali's wardrobe, the two women wouldn't have had anything to change into. Ding Dali figured to himself that he needed to find time to gather some clothes. Otherwise, a lot of clothes would get damaged during battle. Of course, that won't be necessary later on, because in the future there will be new materials used to make clothes, making them more durable and tougher. For example, silk spun by mutated silkworm beasts, mutated cotton, and the hides of mutated beasts, and so on. In his previous life, Ding Dali wore a leather coat made from the hide of a mutated horse beast, and it was extremely sturdy and durable. After washing up, Ding Dali took some vegetables, braised meat, and several skewers of grilled kidneys out of his space and put them all on the table. Which of you two knows how to cook? Too much had happened that day, and having arrived in an unfamiliar environment, Yi Zhiqiu felt a little restrained. Hearing Ding Dali's question, she raised her hand and said softly, "I can cook. Usually it's just my dad and me living together, so I'm basically the one who cooks." At the mention of her father, Yi Zhiqiu's eyes reddened slightly and her expression turned desolate. Seeing this, Ding Dali took out another case of beer from his space and put it on the table. "From now on, we're one family. We have to live well together in this damned apocalypse. I propose, let's have a few drinks together tonight. Welcome to the new family member." Yi Zhiqiu knew this man was comforting her, and her heart warmed. She smiled and nodded, then carried the ingredients off to cook. Chen Nan nudged Ding Dali with her elbow, putting on an expression that said, "I get it. Not bad, hubby, you're pretty good at sweet-talking girls. But where did those grilled kidneys come from? I don't remember us collecting any grilled kidneys, and why does the smell of those grilled kidneys seem so familiar? Officer Chun, come back to the room with me and let me tell you something. Review what happened in the battle." What are you doing? There are still other people here." Chen Na protested coyly, but Ding Dali turned a deaf ear, kicked the door shut with his foot, and the two of them started working over what had been talked about at the supermarket during the day. A long time passed. In the kitchen, Yi Zhiqiu, who was cooking, heard the sounds coming from the bedroom, and her face instantly turned bright red. Ripples stirred in her heart as well, and even the speed at which she chopped vegetables unconsciously increased quite a bit. By the time they came out of the bedroom, the table was already full of dishes. Yi Zhiqiu was sitting there looking at her phone out of boredom, and she had probably been waiting quite a while. Ding Dali looked smug, while Chen Na followed behind him with her face flushed red. Seeing the two of them come out, Yi Zhiqiu put down her phone and coughed twice to hide the awkwardness. "Ahem. The food's getting cold. Sit down and eat." Not only was Ding Dali not embarrassed, he was thick-skinned enough to sit down directly and stuff a mouthful of food into his mouth with his chopsticks. Before he had even swallowed, he raised his thumb and praised it repeatedly. "Zhiqiu, your cooking is really good. Big wife, come have a taste too and replenish your strength." Chen Na's face turned even redder at his words. The three of them ate while drinking beer collected from the farmer's market. The atmosphere had been a little awkward at first, but after Ding Dali told a few raunchy jokes, the mood at the table livened up. Yi Zhiqiu also started talking more. Suddenly, as if remembering something, he put down his glass and said, "I was just looking at my phone and saw a lot of people discussing the official announcement about waiting for rescue. and some even captured photos of rescue helicopters flying over. It seems the authorities have set up a temporary relocation camp. Should we wait for rescue, or go to the camp ourselves? Ding Dolly burped from the beer, then replied meaningfully. No need to think about rescue. We're not getting a turn. As for whether we go to the relocation camp, my answer is also no. For now, we'll use this place as a temporary base. Whether it's called a base or a shelter, we're not going. Or rather, it's not the time yet. Because before long, those hard-earned relocation camps and survivor bases will all vanish completely. This official camp in Kyoto, I know about it too. Not just this one official relocation camp, there are several others all over Kyoto. And the message was issued by the largest official survivor base in Kyoto in the previous life. Of course, that was also rebuilt by the remaining forces after this current camp vanished completely. Yi Jiqiu didn't know that Ding Dali knew about what would happen in the future, but Chen-Na did. She raised her glass to interrupt and said, "Come on, drink. We've got food and drink, so why think about all that?" To be fair, Chen-Na's drinking capacity was truly formidable, one bottle after another. Before long, she alone had downed a dozen bottles of beer. Even then it wasn't enough. She shouted for Ding Dali to bring out more. Under Chen-Na's influence, Yi Jiqiu also completely let loose and drank quite a bit of beer. In this way, after several rounds of drinks and 5 courses of dishes, the three of them patted their bellies and leaned back on the sofa, burping in satisfaction. Chen-Na looked at the 2 people beside her. Her eyes rolled, and she smiled. This lousy place only has 1 bedroom. How are the 3 of us supposed to sleep tonight? Ding Dali didn't mind and casually said, "Heh, what's the big deal? We can just sleep together. We're all family anyway. And besides, it's the apocalypse. Why be so particular? Pa, dream on. I've drunk too much today and want some peace and quiet, so I'm sleeping on this sofa tonight. You 2 sleep in the bedroom." After saying that, she gave Ding Dali a look that said, "I know you best." Ding Dali instantly got excited. He hadn't expected his dear wife to be so on the same page. Yi Jiqiu, however, was a little flustered, not because she wanted to go back on her word, but because she still wasn't mentally prepared. "Sister Na, you should sleep in the bedroom." "I? What do you mean I? It's settled like this. Your sister Na is tired today, let her rest well." Ding Dali pretended to be angry, but kept winking at Chen-Na. Chen-Na understood, rolled her eyes, and kicked Ding Dali's butt, saying unhappily, "I'm tired, don't disturb me while I sleep. Hurry up and take your Jiqiu girl and get lost. That beast has eaten several skewers of kidneys. I can't take the tossing around." Hearing this, before Yi Jiqiu could say anything, Ding Dali grabbed her hand and went back to the room. Yi Jiqiu knew she couldn't avoid it, so she didn't struggle and obediently followed him in. After entering the bedroom, he helped Yi Jiqiu sit on the edge of the bed. Ding Dali's expression suddenly turned serious as he looked at Yi Jiqiu solemnly. "Jiqiu, you should know what's going to happen next. I don't want to force you. That's no fun. I'll give you a chance. If you're unwilling, I won't make things hard for you. Tomorrow at daybreak, we'll all go our separate ways. If you're willing to follow me, I can't guarantee anything, but I can guarantee that I'll let you live well in the apocalypse. So if you don't agree, just shake your head. If you agree, just nod." Yi Jiqiu stared at the man who had suddenly become serious, and for a moment, she was lost in thought. It was this ordinary-looking man who not only saved her, but also avenged her and made her an awakened, giving her the means to survive in the apocalypse. Thinking back on the day's experiences, her emotions rose and fell again and again. As she thought about it, a tear fell uncontrollably. This man was just too ordinary-looking, and he was always talking a bit crudely. But he seemed to treat his own people quite well, and he was powerful too. In this world, he was actually a pretty good choice. Thinking this, Yi Jiqiu wiped away her tears, smiled, and gently nodded. Just then, with Yi Jiqiu staring at him, she suddenly started crying. This made Ding Dali's heart skip a beat. He wondered if this woman was going to go back on her word. Then, seeing Yi Jiqiu nod, Ding Dali was momentarily stunned and thought to himself, "Damn it, he thought the duck in his mouth was about to fly away. What was this woman doing? Crying one moment and laughing the next. Her 2 eyes are firing cannons. I'm going to fire at you too." Floating and drifting as if enlightened, rising and soaring as if becoming immortal. Until the night deepened and all was quiet. Yi Jiqiu fell into a deep sleep. Ding Dali leaned against the headboard with his eyes closed, resting and waiting for something, when the system's voice sounded. "Ding. The system has successfully advanced to Tier 2. The reward space has increased to 3,000 cubic meters. Reward function, good and evil value query Ding. Completed the race reproduction quest. Captured new target. Reward materials, 20 tons. Ding. Detected that 3 more tasks have been completed with target Chun-Na. Reward materials, 10 tons. Chapter 28 Night Operation System. How is this material reward calculated? Big brother, the first conquest reward is the highest. After that, materials are rewarded randomly, and the more times it happens, the smaller the random amount becomes. Why the hell is that? Have you ever heard the saying, there's no field that gets ruined by plowing, only oxen that get worn to death? It's very hard work. Big brother, I'm the more children, more blessings system. I don't care about the process. I only care about the result. What's the use of doing it many times? No quality at all. Do you fucking look down on me? Devour. Big brother. Big brother. Fine, fine. Behave, be good. Should we take a look at the good and evil value? What exactly is this good and evil value? It had better be useful. The good and evil value is a data-based indicator used to assess how friendly someone is toward you. 100 is a perfect score. The higher the score, the friendlier they are. The lower the score, the stronger the hostility. Big brother, see if it isn't pretty useful? For some reason, Ding Dali increasingly felt that when the system spoke, it was even more shameless than he was. But this good and evil value was indeed somewhat useful. After all, in life you have to rely on acting. Some people you wouldn't even know were bad if they didn't stab you in the back. System. Check the good and evil values of Chun-Na and Yi Zhiqiu. Ding. Chun-Na's good and evil value, 99 ding. Yi Zhiqiu's good and evil value, 85. System. Could this score mean she'll betray me? Ding Dali had experienced the pain of betrayal in his previous life. If not for betrayal, he wouldn't have died and been reborn. So in this life, he cared a great deal about whether a person was loyal or not. Big brother, strictly speaking, the higher the score, the less likely they are to betray you. A score of 100 means absolute loyalty, never betrayal. Above 90, betrayal is basically impossible. Above 80, the probability of betrayal is also relatively low. But if they do something against the other party's wishes or endanger the other party's life, the good and evil value will drop, and they may very well betray you. So it seems this good and evil value is indeed very useful. To survive in the apocalypse, you'll definitely need your own team, and the good and evil value is precisely the best way to select your own people. Ding Dali looked at Yi Zhiqiu sleeping beside him and muttered inwardly, "You lousy woman. Even after having such a blast, you still scored this low. If I'd known, I should have done you a few more times, until I beat you into submission." Thinking that, Ding Dali still couldn't help but grab Yi Zhiqiu, and the other frowned and rolled over. Ding Dali didn't care if outsiders were hostile toward him. If they tried, he would just kill them. What he cared about was betrayal from his own people. But what he didn't know was that among people he met on the first day, someone with such a high good and evil value was actually extremely rare. After a brief rest, he glanced at the time. 2 a.m. Ding Dali got up, dressed, and tiptoed into the living room. He planned to sneak to the Sunflower Hotel alone to find Chen Xiqing. First, he could handle the revenge by himself. Second, he planned to use the residential complex as a temporary base, and leaving 2 second-tier awakened ones to guard his headquarters would make it as safe as it could possibly be. He took enough supplies out of the space and gently placed them on the floor, then wrote a note for Chun-Na and left it on the table. Only then did he feel at ease preparing to leave. Just as he was about to open the door, a voice came from behind. "What? You're going to leave after getting what you wanted?" It was Chun-Na who spoke. In the dark, her expression couldn't be seen clearly. Ding Dali gave a silly grin, then stepped forward and wrapped an arm around Chun-Na's shoulder. "Haha, dear wife, I need to go out for a bit. I was afraid of waking you all, so I planned to leave quietly. Why are you bringing so much supplies?" I, Ding Dali stammered, thinking about how to answer, when Chun-Na interrupted him with a hug. "All right, I'm just teasing you. I know you're going to the Sunflower Hotel. Be careful, and wait for you to come back." Hearing Chun-Na's words, Ding Dali was deeply moved, and the hand that was holding Chun-Na also moved down to her butt and pinched it over and over. "Haha, there's still time. Why don't we practice a little so I can go fight? Get lost." "All right." After explaining some things, Ding Dali had barely walked out of the stairwell door. Ding. Detected Chun-Na's good and evil value reaching 100, never betray. Reward, 20 tons of supplies. Ding Dali smiled in satisfaction and walked straight out of the residential complex. He didn't plan to drive the light truck out. It would make too much noise and be too conspicuous. Going over alone in secret, taking whatever he saw along the way and grabbing whatever caught his eye, was just right. In just one day, the grass in the green belt had already grown over a person tall. The roadside trees had also shot up a lot in an instant. Under the bright moonlight, the tree shadows were mottled, looking like a ferocious monster with bared fangs and claws. He walked all the way to the intersection by Lianhua Supermarket without running into many zombies. After passing the intersection and walking not far, zombies began to appear sparsely along the road. After a day of adaptation, the zombies now were clearly much stronger than during the daytime. For most ordinary people, the first day is the best time to kill zombies. After the first day, the basic zombies had fully adapted to their bodies, and all their physical attributes were pressing close to those of a first-tier awakened one. At that point, trying to kill a zombie alone became extremely difficult. However, for the current Ding Dali, all of that made little difference. Killing basic zombies was as easy as could be, just like crushing an insignificant ant to death. This was the gulf between early-stage levels. Ding Dali's current level had expanded the range of his telekinetic object control to 20 meters. With his mind controlling the heating pipe, all zombies within 20 meters were mercilessly knocked to the ground by him. It's just that the sight of controlling a heating pipe to strike in midair was really not very elegant, and the mental power consumed by controlling blunt weapons in battle was far greater than controlling a small knife or the like. If only he had steel nails, daggers, and other sharp weapons, that would be great. In the end, blunt weapons were still better held in the hand. I remember that on the way to the Sunflower Hotel, there's a hardware and building materials store. Why not go there first and take a look? Thinking this, Ding Dali made a decisive call and decided to head to the hardware and building materials store first. At the next intersection, turn right and keep going straight, and you'll reach Sunflower Hotel. That hardware and building supplies store is about halfway along that stretch. There are also many restaurants of all sizes in between, but Ding Dali has absolutely no interest in the supplies in any of them. Don't ask why. Just say that Ding Dali once had a period of experience delivering takeout. On this street alone, aside from one fried chicken shop whose food was still fairly clean, the stuff in the other places was simply more disgusting than shit. For them, food hygiene was a joke. Ding Dali had plenty of supplies, so naturally there was no need to touch that shit like food. However, when he passed that fried chicken shop, he casually packed up all the food in the store and took it away. The fried chicken shop was run by a mother and daughter, and they weren't as lucky as the employees at Lianhua Supermarket. They had all already turned into zombies. Ding Dali used to come to this shop often and was fairly familiar with the mother and daughter, so he mercilessly sent them on their way. The hardware and building supplies store was right next to the fried chicken shop. Ding Dali used his lock-picking skill to pry open the shutter door. Just as the door opened, a flash of cold light suddenly swept by, and Ding Dali quickly raised the heating pipe to block it. An axe struck hard against the heating pipe, and only the sound of metal crashing could be heard, while countless sparks flew everywhere. Ding Dali's strength now was enormous to ordinary people. Reeling from the counterforce of the blow, the axe-wielding man staggered back several steps before barely managing to steady himself. Then he said to Ding Dali, "Holy crap, are you human or a zombie? Damn it, are you human or a zombie? You slash at me as soon as you come in. If I were a zombie, I'd eat you alive." Ding Dali cursed irritably. Since the hardware store had no lights on and was pitch black, he turned on his phone flashlight and looked around. But as soon as he turned on the flashlight, the middle-aged man with the axe stopped him. "Don't you want to live? Be careful not to attract zombies."